Today on Homeworthy, we're taking you to the bustling streets of London to count down the 5 most stunning homes across the city. We start our roundup with a beautifully layered Georgian cottage and end with a charming 2-bedroom flat. Be sure to let us know your own favorite in the comments below. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Fiona. Welcome to my home in London. Come on in, I can't wait to show you round.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello, my name is Fiona Delise. I'm a colour consultant and I'm based in London. We're here in my home and I'm here to tell you what I love about my home, what I love about colour and what I love about my work. My home is a Georgian cottage. It was built around 1750. It's a mostly timber framed structure. So it's a very quirky building with lime walls. It moves, it breathes, it has a lot of atmosphere. The light moves in very mysterious ways, which is one of the reasons why I absolutely love it. So when I first viewed the property, I literally had to wade through brambles to get to the front door. The building had been unlived in for about 7 years. And when I walked in, I knew instantly this was the house for me. It was calm, quiet, you could really feel the love in here. The previous owners hadn't renovated it since the 1970s, so it pretty much was a gut job. There wasn't even any central heating here. The bathroom was downstairs, there was a Jack and Jill bedroom upstairs, which I wanted to change. So it really was a project about bringing the house back to life. And I had gone through some big life changes prior to that. So it felt very much a symbiotic process in restoring myself, healing myself, restoring the house, healing the house literally. It has lime walls, and what I learned for the first time is that the house needs to breathe. So I went about using lime paints to protect the walls and to find the colours that really worked for my personal story, my narrative, my heritage. The process was really difficult because it meant bringing up floors, moving walls around. It's a listed building, so I had to get consent, which was incredibly difficult, working with the local council at times. But it was really worth it in the end for me. So we're in my living room. I don't have a formal entrance. The Georgian cottages sometimes didn't, so you would have a front door that walks straight into the living room. It's a double-fronted cottage with windows on either side. So I've had to make the space cosy as an entrance, but also practical and functional as the main living room area. So I'd love to show you around at some of my favourite pieces. One of my prized possessions is my collection of woodland scenes, and these are things that I've just picked up on my travels. Every single picture here is a painting. It varies in age. Some are antique, some are mid-century. And what's really important for me about this whole wall here is that I feel I'm submerged in a woodland. It's a real connection to where I grew up in Hampstead by Hampstead Heath. And just to come in and see the trees against this fantastic green wall just lifts my spirits. I have the woods on my doorstep too, so there is a narrative here, not only with my past, but also with where I happen to live. So this is one of my favourite features, my woodland scene. So this armoire here is, I was told it was Bavarian, but I have a feeling it might be Italian. It was bought from a thrift store, and it has the most beautiful carvings of basically an urn with what I think are acanthus leaves coming out, some scrolls, and then on either side different features, which is what I particularly love. So I like playing on symmetry, but I also like there to be a difference in the symmetry. So here we have the fruit with the pears and the grapes and possibly a pomegranate, whereas here we've got something that might represent vegetables like a split pod of peas, and you can just see the peas coming out. It's a really beautiful piece. I understand that it was adapted by somebody in the 1950s on the inside who was a tobacconist, and he had put shelves inside originally so he could dry his tobacco leaves. It's a very special piece, and because I don't have an entrance hallway, I've adapted it so that it houses all my shoes, coats, scarves, hats, gloves, bags. So when you come in, you don't see any of that at all. It's just neatly hidden in here with a few hats across the top. The pots are really special to me. These are antique salting pots. So originally they would have been filled with salt and meat would have been put in there to preserve them. I absolutely adore the glazed patina on them, and salting pots would sometimes be tilted for ease of access, so they roll about quite nicely, and I think they make a really lovely feature into the living room. They kind of remind me of that whole concept of from plant to plate, something that's really important to me. The pot that has gained a bit of popularity is actually this very special confit pot over here, which I call the Toscana pot. I got it on a sourcing trip to Italy in Tuscany, and it has the most beautiful patina. The image of the pot was featured here in Homes and Gardens magazine, which won Colour of the Month award with Edward Bulmer Natural Paint. So this pot has been used on quite a few styling shoots, and it's my lucky pot, I call it. It's very different from your average confit pot, which tends to be more yellow and plain, such as this one here, which is a lovely big one here, as you can see. This is a particularly special one because it has holes in the bottom, so it would have been used for drainage. So that one over there has a paint patina on it that I've never seen anywhere before. Another two of my favourite pots in my room are the antique Polynesian water vessels, which have 3 spouts. They're handmade and they have the most beautiful hand patterns around them. I've never seen anything like them before. They're very rare and they're very precious to me. All my pots are precious to me because I relate pots very much to the human condition, us being vessels, carrying what's important to us in our lives, and pots originally would have held commodities that were important to us too, such as water, wines and oils. And speaking on that, I can't wait to show you my very special walnut jug collection in the kitchen later on. This fantastic sofa I picked up in an auction for £50 and I absolutely love it. I've thrown a whole load of scatter cushions on it. It's so comfortable to relax on. It's actually long enough to sleep on, not that I ever have, but it is long enough as a single bed. It's a great piece to relax on in the sun, reading a book, especially in the winter when you just get that heat falling onto your body. It's one of my favourite places to sit so I can just look outside. And I also love the random combination of cushions as well, just mixing up the colours in a very natural and organic way. I love decorating with nature, and I usually use real live flowers or dried flowers such as this arrangement here. Particularly having been a florist for a long time, I love to forage with what I can find in the garden or the outside. But these particular branches here are artificial, and I put them up usually for Christmas, and they end up staying up for a lot longer because I just think they're really sweet and cute, and they remind me of the roses outside in the garden that have the little red buds that are starting to come up. So I sometimes leave them up there. I'm very inspired by natural elements in the house, so I try to bring them in wherever I can. And being a Georgian cottage with quite low ceilings, light can be a challenge for growing plants, so I like to add these little touches of nature wherever I can. This is the original fireplace here. It's really deep, and I was looking for a cast iron grate and I couldn't find one I quite liked, and I actually found this chucked outside somebody's house down the road one evening when I was out jogging. So I brought it back home. It was incredibly heavy, but what I really love about it is actually got the emblem of the fleur-de-lis, which is quite a sweet, quirky little ode to my surname, Delis. So at the back there are 3 fleur-de-lis signs. I also love to throw lavender on it when I've got a live fire. I grow lavender in the garden, and so does my neighbour, especially with the south-facing sun here. So when I've got the fire on, I love to scatter lots of lavender on there. It sparks, it smells, and I have a little pot of it here, and I just literally throw it on with the little shovel here, and it just makes a really cosy winter evening's fire. These 2 chairs here are part of the same set with the sofa. It was basically the deal. I couldn't take just the sofa, I had to take the chairs as well. And as it happens, they worked out really well. One of them is literally collapsed underneath, but that becomes the dog chair with a blanket on it whenever anybody visits with a dog. So that's the allocated dog throne, whereas guests get to use the hair-free one. I actually often hear from people this concern about mixing red and green. And it perhaps making a room feel a bit Christmassy. For me, I actually don't think that red and green together looks anything like Christmas, funnily enough. And the reason for that is because if you actually look at nature outside, you will see that there are a lot of natural combinations in the garden that involve different shades of pink to dark pink and into red and green. So the trick to it not being too Christmassy would be to use muted colours. So if you have a look, for example, the reds here, they're quite antiqued, dull colours, and I think sometimes if you use a material where you've got a texture and a pattern and you get these 2 tones here, so you've got the deeper reds with perhaps the lighter colours coming through, that breaks it up a little bit. So don't be afraid. I would encourage people not to be afraid of mixing red and green together. It's a beautiful combination, but I would also layer it with perhaps other colours like the chartreuse greens, maybe some soft dusky pinks and apricots, and maybe some dusky oranges. Then you really do diffuse that whole idea of it being anything too Christmassy. The other thing that I really love about this room is I have a bit of a gripe with radiators, especially if they're not antique old ones. And bearing in mind that this house didn't have any heating, I had some very good radiators put in, but I don't like looking at them, and I don't particularly like painting them. So I like to mask them. And what I have done here is I've taken a beautiful half screen that I found in an antique shop, and I've placed it across the radiator, so it almost acts as a little background, again going back to that whole idea of layering coming from my set design days. So I'm layering behind the chairs to give a background, a pretty background, but actually there's a very practical reason there for me. I'm hiding the view of the radiator as well. What I learnt in moving to this very special property is the importance of understanding the atmosphere of a house. And by that I mean we bring our own energy into a house, but ultimately, particularly old buildings, they very much have their own character and personality, and you need to settle with the space. You need to learn to read the light. You need to understand how the light moves through the rooms in order to think about how you want to live in those spaces, how those spaces make you feel. And this was really part of this restorative process, was about understanding, how do I want to feel in this space? How do I want it to make me function on a daily basis? And how do I want to bring my narrative into it through colour, through natural light movement, and through decor? So these are the sort of important elements that I bring to my work as a colour consultant. This house has really helped me understand the importance of narrative, story, light. And on the subject of light, my mother was a Tai Chi teacher, and I grew up with quite a lot of Japanese influence in my life, very Taoist influence, which was a really interesting combination because she was Italian, but also I lived in an arts and crafts cottage. So all these extraordinary elements of understanding light, pattern, they were very much part of my heritage in how I understood design, texture, gardens, and how all of these elements can link together in creating spaces that are very, very personal to somebody. So the next room in the house is the dining area, and in order to transition really nicely into that space with the colours, given that I'm using a pink against a green, I've used a very subtle pink blanket on the edge of the sofa just to help the eye transition into the changing colour from this space into the next. So come with me and take a look at the dining room. Okay, so here we are inside the dining room. It's a small but really warm, cosy space which I've painted in a lovely shade of pink on the top with a slightly warmer colour on the panelling. These colours make me think of Italy, think of the Riviera, the beautiful colours of the buildings there. I'm totally transported in this space. The two key features of this room really are the table, which has beautiful claw and ball foot, and the sideboard here, the drawers. Both are my grandfather's from Italy, so these are very special pieces for me. I really love the painting on here, the colours, the delicate flowers. It's such a quirky, beautiful piece, and I use this to house my table linen, stationery, all the practical things that I might need. And then on top I have the Casa Pupa lamps, which I got from a client when I had my previous flower shop. She was getting rid of them. She hated anything from the 1950s and wanted everything modern. So I snapped these up because these are an absolute steal. They are pomegranates and they're just simply beautiful. The shades I found in a thrift store, so I changed the original shades, which were orange, to this lovely rich red, and for me it really, really works. And then scattered on the top are a collection of these beautiful gemstones, which I just think are really pretty, and I love layering with natural elements. So it doesn't have to be just botanicals, it can be minerals as well. And I think the treat on the top really is the ostrich egg, which again I found in another thrift store, and I absolutely love this. It's such a beautiful piece. So it sits here quite proudly as the only egg in the room. The dining table, I have memories of using this in Italy. The chairs I found from a friend who's a mid-century dealer. I think they work really well. Again, I love this soft muted red, which goes back to what I was saying before about if you're using red, try to go for colours sometimes that are a little bit aged and antiqued, like this colour here. And for winter, I always throw a really nice, comfortable sheepskin rug. So when my guests or when I'm sitting down here at the table and I've got the log fire on particularly, I just feel really, really cosy. These two chinoiserie panels are really extraordinary, and I'm yet to finish them off. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do that. These are silk. It's black silk, and they've been hand painted with this beautiful scene of birds of paradise and flowers and greenery. They're just so delicate, but I particularly like the fact that they're on a black background. So I have two of them here, and I think what I might do at a future stage is put them inside a beautiful frame and have them glass mounted so I can put them up on the wall. And the other reason I like them in here is because they balance the black that comes from the antique Indian desk over here. This is a really special piece. It's probably about 200 years old, and it has very useful storage. But what's particularly interesting, a friend of mine who's a gardener said that he thinks that it actually has cardamom leaves painted on it. So these could potentially be cardamom heads with little cardamom leaves. And I love the fact that this particular part of the desk is less worn than the rest of it, and that's because it usually sits up like this. On either side of the desk, I have these huge tall grasses, which I once used on a styling job. The theme was something quite magical and mystical, and we were approaching winter, so I used a lot of these scattered around, and I just love the colour of them. I love the muted tones and how feathery and magical they look. I couldn't bear to get rid of them, so I've propped them on either side, and they just about fit in with my low ceilings. And they beautifully frame a very special painting of a bird's nest here with the egg, and I have here an actual nest that I found that had fallen out of a tree. These are all mementos of early childhood memories to me, which have naturally come my way when I've been on sourcing trips. So this is quite a special little corner for me, in a very different way to perhaps the other features of the room. Because I have the woodlands on my doorstep, often when I go out in the mornings or in the evenings, I can hear the woodpeckers. And here I have a vase which I think is probably about 1940s, 1950s. I found this vase which has the woodpecker on the edge of what is pretending to be a trunk. And these are ferns that I've picked from the local woodland, and I've just left them to dry. So again, not only is it something that I think is really pretty to look at, but it's just reminding me of those moments when I go out for walks in the woodlands and the beauty of nature that I see. Over here in this cabinet, I have a collection of wooden block prints, and they're all quite different. So at some point, I'm really looking forward to the idea of getting them out, playing with my paint colours, and maybe doing some block print work on silk or canvas or linen. I'm quite fond of those over there. And over here I have, on this little shelf here, a lovely collection of books that are to do with nature. So I've got geology, I've got birds of the British Isles, I've got stories called On the Nature Trail, woodland trees. These are all books that I've just found when I've been out and about, and I really like the way they play on those muted greens and reds and apricot colours. This is just my little nature corner over here. The style of my home is very eclectic, and this is because I don't adhere to any trend. I never have. I think it's really important to acquire things through time that speak to you on a personal level, and then eventually you can amalgamate all these things to actually create the style that's important to you. I've decorated my home definitely in a very colourful way, but what I really like about the colours I work with is that they can be quite deep and strong, but also quite muted and aged. So in a way, I really like to work with antiqued colours. So greens and reds and perhaps purples and browns that look like they've been aged with time. Some of the items I've inherited are from my Italian grandfather in Italy, which are very much statement items in the home. And the rest of the items are things that I've just acquired through my styling career, through my travels, things that I've looked at and thought, that's got a really interesting story, and I want that to become part of mine. So I very rarely actually go to a shop to buy something new. Pretty much everything I have has either come from thrift markets, antique markets, auction houses, just things that I've not expected to find and that life has just tossed my way, a bit like opening a Pandora's box and just suddenly seeing something you think, I've got to have that. Going across the middle of this room is this original beam supporting the upstairs part of the house, and I wanted to make it a feature, so I painted it black so it worked with my black panels, and I did something different for a change. I used a gloss so you could really see it. And then going across the top of it, I hung some hops. So if anybody hasn't ever used hops before, I really encourage you to use them. When they first arrived, they were still a little bit green and fresh, because when you order hops, usually they come quite fresh because that's when they're at their most supple and they can bend. The smell was absolutely intoxicating. It was just deliriously delicious. And I put them up, and you just leave them because then they dry and they crisp. and they've become quite a feature of the room now. So this is basically a hops ceiling. On one side here, I took the wallpaper down because I wanted to put a lime wash effect on the ceiling and I wanted it to breathe, whereas on the other side it had been papered when I first renovated. So I've taken the paper down here as part of a second stage of restoring the building, which I've started to do by changing one wall here with the colour, going from a lime wash effect of a colour that I mixed myself using paints that I've got left over, so I get this slightly mottled effect on the walls, which I really, really love here. And then I mixed a slightly darker colour to set this off, as opposed to the flat colour which we've got on one side here. So this is my corner of experimenting with mixing colours, mixing my own paints, and going for an effect on a lime wash wall. The story with some of the African artifacts I've got around the house is a story that links me to my father, actually, who spent quite a lot of time living in Santa Fe and Albuquerque when I was a child. And I have collected some beautiful Cuba cloths which I have upstairs, and to complement the theme in another part of the house, I've collected a few of these African masks. I don't actually know the age of them, but what I do know is that they are perhaps some of the more beautiful ones that I've seen. And so I've placed them on either side here. And my father was always interested in different cultures, and I remember that he used to collect things from South America and African drums or African musical instruments. So over here I just have this little ode to him, really. I would consider that my style is a little bit maximalist, but also in a way where I like there to be calm within it. So the maximalist element of my style very much comes from building layers, and I really enjoy building layers in 3D. So I like building them in depth or in height. But within those layers, I like there to be some kind of calm scattered about. So the maximalist part of me doesn't necessarily apply to having a room completely overwhelmed with lots of visual distraction. So there's sometimes a joke with the back room being a bistro, because in the evening, particularly when I've got the log fire on and I've got all the side lighting on, I tend to light all the candles. This old house, I'm not too precious about candle wax. I love candles on everywhere. So there will be candle wax on the floor, on the surfaces. I'm not too precious about it because really it is the memory of the evening. So I tend to collect candle sticks, different ones, wood, metal. You can see from the condition of the wax on them how well they get used. So this room is very, very cozy, it's very snug, and when guests come, they feel like they're in a slightly different world as well. You go back in time and it's definitely an experience. My professional journey to becoming a colour consultant is quite a long and varied one. Colour consultancy didn't really exist as a profession about 25 years ago. But I realised over a course of time that by default I had been operating with colour through a number of different disciplines. So I originally trained in set design, and set design was something very fundamental to the way I understood to read the world. As a child I went to the ballet a lot, to the theatre a lot, so I was used to seeing lots of layers. Also, I was very involved in gardening. I grew up with a very huge kitchen garden that I was very much involved in. So I learned to read space through layers. That journey took me into floristry, where I then had 3 separate floristry shops. And again, working with colour combinations even more, except this time flowers being used for events, but any kind of event. So I began to understand that colour was relative to emotion and purpose. And through those businesses, I then started doing styling for people's homes as well. I worked a little bit with mid-century design, as well as selling and collecting antiques to sell. And eventually, when I had a little antique emporium in Hampstead, I started to consider maybe I want to start using some paints in my shops, and that was really the starting point for stepping out of my little antiques business and floristry business into the world of colour. My mantra to colour is read the light of a room. I think it's totally fine if you are somebody who loves bright, vivid colours, or if you're somebody who likes really calm, soft whites. I work with people who love all different types of colours for their home. But the one thing that I always bring to my consultancy services and that I encourage people to think about at home is read the light, because the way you understand light in your home can really help you understand how you want the nuances or the hues to change so that you can create either that really bold combination you want or that very soft, subtle one, which has a relationship with the light in a room. So my mantra is read the light of the room. So the room adjoining the dining room is the kitchen, which was formerly the bathroom when I first took the property on. It was a space that had two little hallways off of it as well, which was crazy. It was really, really small. So in order to flip the bathroom to the upstairs, this is the space that I decided to dedicate for the kitchen. So come through, I'd love to show you more. This is one of the smallest rooms in the house, but it is perhaps one of the most intense in terms of what happens here. Because of my Italian heritage and being involved with a kitchen garden, this space I deliberately chose to be very, very calm in terms of colour. So I mixed a colour myself and painted it on the walls, which is a very warm coppery brown. It picks up on the hues of the old copper pots that I have tucked away in the wall over there. And to pull in my Italian aesthetic, I'm using white, very plain white tiles here, which is what my grandmother had in her kitchen in Italy long, long time ago. There wasn't the privilege of having lots of tiles to choose from. People just used very simple white tiles, but I really like the simplicity of them. But the piece that really sings in here is the massive credenza, which is my grandfather's. I brought this back from Italy, and I'll never forget the day when it arrived. The guys turned up with the truck, with all the furniture, and they said, it's not going to go, it's not going to go. It came in two pieces, and I said, it is going to go, because it simply had to. There was just not the negotiation of it not moving in. And it just so happens that because, like all the walls and ceilings in the house, which are wonky, this particular corner here, you can't even fit a piece of paper in. The credenza literally was made for the kitchen. And this is where I house all my plates, my glasses, my dry products, my pots and pans, my cutlery. One of the things I like the most about it is that it's the perfect worktop height for me, because I'm quite tall. So I like my worktop higher than the average worktop height. And it's a brilliant surface for me to just show off my very prized collection of walnut jug pots, which are very, very old, very, very special, and they just sit here and make the place look interesting without being over cluttered. It's the biggest piece in the kitchen, and it meant that I didn't have to go for the formality of a fitted kitchen, which I just don't like. I wanted something that was quite rustic and very simple. So I've paired the credenza with a freestanding cooker and a trolley which houses all the bits I need for cooking, and then a beautiful Italian marble worktop and a screen of material which basically hides the washing machine, the dishwasher and the tumble dryer. So I have an antique Hale Bay fork which I use as a hanger for my various aprons, and I saw it once on a styling shoot and I just thought it was a really clever idea. So in order to hide it, I just hang it over the door, and I use it as a brilliant storage place to hang a linen a linen apron and a couple of really old leather ones. You can also actually use it to slot your glasses in. So if you were to tilt it against a wall like that, you can turn your glasses, wine glasses, upside down, and you could actually use it as a quirky glass storage system for a kitchen. So one of the reasons I wanted the kitchen to remain quite calm with its colours, very natural and rustic, the colours of the pots, such as the three I've got over here, for example, is because I really wanted the emphasis to come from flavour and aroma. And I actually love cooking some of the simplest dishes, the ones that require not too much fuss, but cooked right, they taste the best to me. So I love cooking polenta, and I love cooking a really beautiful tomato sauce, or perhaps a ragu. I've always got shallots, onions and tomatoes in the kitchen because they are my staple. So long as I've got those, I can pretty much have, I pretty much know I've got anything I can make to cook. So my staple, my favourite food to cook, particularly when I want a little bit of comforting, is probably a really simple pasta dish drizzled with beautiful aromatic olive oil, maybe a little bit of dried thyme, this is from Sardinia, some garlic and some shallots and onions, just slow cooked, beautiful, really delicious. It's so difficult for me to think if I have a favourite colour because I love so many, but I definitely have a tendency towards greens. Everything is on the table for me when it comes to colour because colour teaches me to read the world in different ways that I might not have before. I used to have a real issue with white. I used to find it incredibly dull, incredibly boring, and it never really quite delivered for me. But I've learnt more recently that the different hues and nuances in white can really elevate a space in a way that I never anticipated before. So there isn't really a colour that I can say I won't touch. I actually love them all. So there's a lot more going on upstairs and I would love to show you what I've done. So come and join me. So I'm at the top of the stairs, and the two features which I really love about the stairwell, which is very small, is that I have the original lime walls here, which have beautiful shades of murky, muddy yellows. So I didn't want to paint those. I've left those, and they are a great backdrop for this collection of bird prints and some butterflies that I've picked up on other travels in various antique shops. And to finish them off, I've put them inside this huge gold gilt frame that I picked up from a friend. It just seemed a huge wall and a great space to put a massive frame in what is otherwise a really narrow stairwell, and then to fill the big frame with lots of little frames. So I thought that was quite a clever, quirky trick. And then at the top of the stairs, I am straight into my dressing area, which used to be a room, a small bedroom. But in order to get my grandfather's huge wardrobe in, which is the wardrobe to the chest of drawers downstairs, I actually had to move away some of the panelling that was the rim divider in order to get this in. So I absolutely love this piece. It's got the painting on it, and the colours are just absolutely brilliant. And this space is south facing, so it gets a lot of sun in here. It's a great space just to get ready. I have also my mother's mirror on this side of the wall, which is an old antique piece. And to add my own touch here, I've made this colour here, and I've made the colour on the wall. So I've used a paler shade on the walls as an emulsion, and I've used an eggshell here on the woodwork. And the colours of the story are inspired by my green kimono. I love collecting kimonos. I've got quite a few, but this is one of my more recent ones, and I love the colours of this. So I've used this as the inspiration to make the colour on the wall, a muted version of it. And the lampshades are made by me. So these were plain white lampshades, lamp bases, and I used various colours of green and blue from the colours that I'd mixed downstairs to wash over them and to add in the streaks. And what I really like about them, particularly at night when it's dark outside, is that the colour comes through the parts of the material where it hasn't quite saturated into the linen. So if I turn it off, for example, you'll see it disappears, and then when I turn the light on, the colour comes through. So that was an unexpected surprise, which I really liked. This is a statue from Italy again. She actually came on a very tall plinth and I couldn't fit her in here. So she was a statue from my grandfather's apartment. I think she's probably about 150 years old. She got a little bit damaged in her transportation, but she's very happy there. And every time I look at her, I just think of Liguria in Italy, and I just think of that sense of being so happy when you see the sun and the beautiful colours of Italy and being by the sea. I love vintage luggage. I think luggage makes really good storage spaces for things that you don't really want to see out, such as hairdryers, brushes, all that sort of paraphernalia. So I use two here to store items. I've also got another really lovely one here which I inherited, which has stickers from travels all around the world. I think it's such a lovely, quirky piece. Again, storing items which I want to keep but don't necessarily want to use on a daily basis. In the wardrobe, which has the long hanging space, is where I keep my kimono collection. And I tend to use these sometimes for styling shoots, sometimes for my colour consultancies. They're very old. I don't really have a favourite one because I love them all. And I think what's great about them is that you can wear them with jeans, you can wear them just as they are. They keep you warm, but they also keep you cool because they're silk. And you can jazz them up with a really funky belt, even some cowboy boots or flat shoes or some heels. They're just absolutely great. I get a lot of colour inspiration from these, and in fact this is exactly why I chose the colours on the wall here, inspired by the green kimono. And also when mixing belts with them, such as vintage pieces of silk, so you could take something like this fantastic pink and tie it around the green kimono and maybe have a pair of pink shoes or a clutch bag or some earrings that match with the pink, and you've just got an outfit straight away with minimal effort. It's just brilliant for me. It works. I love it. Most people who are going on a colour journey when they're renovating or decorating are undergoing a change in life. Now that could simply be that they're moving home, but that is a change in a chapter of their life. In some cases people have separated or split up, that's another change. Or perhaps they're going from just 2 to 3 with the arrival of a child. And I'm very sensitive to this when I walk into somebody's home. Usually the colours that people want or need tend to be relative to the situation they are in or the situation they want to grow into. So sometimes when I'm with couples, I have to mediate between one partner wanting a colour a certain way and another partner wanting a colour a different way, and then reaching that middle ground or that compromise in helping them understand how they might want to live in this space together. So the room that you can see behind me is the master bedroom, and when I first bought the house, when you came to the top of the stairs, the bedroom door started here because of the wood panelling wall that was dividing this bedroom here, which is now the dressing area. So when I reconfigured the space, it enabled me to bring the bedroom door further back to here, allowing a hallway to the reconfigured bathroom, which we'll have a look at later. So come into the bedroom, I'd love to show you. This space here is south facing and has just the most glorious sun in the afternoon. And so the colour that I used on the wall was a very rich amethyst, and the reason for that is because it reminds me of the rich colours in the sunset sky in Liguria. Over the sea there is a certain type of lilac that appears at sunset, and it gets deeper and deeper and deeper at night, and it's that colour that I wanted to capture. So I've washed the walls in that colour, whereas for the woodwork I've used something a little more contrasting, which is quite pared back and goes really well with the Cuba cloths, like this one here, for example, that I was explaining earlier on as part of my African collection. I have quite a few of these, but here's just one example that I drape over the doors. I love to drape material over doors. I think it's a great way of accessorising a door, which is otherwise just very plain and simple. So I always encourage people to drape beautiful fabrics or textiles over doors. In this case, I'm using Cuba cloths, and I have another framed version here. And then I think one of the best features for my bedroom here is similarly to the downstairs living room where I have that woodland scene. I have here a collection of images which every single painting I've sourced from a charity shop find. I've thrown these up on the wall in a slightly random way, but at the same time trying to balance colour. So for example, you will see that I have a lot of green and purple and blue here, but I've balanced it with a painting on the left hand side that's quite heavy with the greens and the blues as well. So they are randomly put up in terms of how the space will allow the painting to go up. And they're generally scenes of buildings in places or the human form, such as the angels down there as well. And another one down here. And they vary in age. So some of them are antique, some of them are mid-century, and some of them are contemporary. One of the favourite ones that I like to look at is the one that I see the first thing in the morning and the last thing at night when I go to bed. And that is the scene of Portofino, which is where I like to visit when I go to Liguria. Again, another charity shop find. It was a real thrift buy. And I remember when I saw it, it had lots of frames in front of it, and all I could see was this top part here. And I just knew straight away that's Portofino. And sure enough, when I pulled away all the other frames, there it was. So that's what I like to wake up to and go to sleep to every day. And I have one more very small salting pot in the bedroom to the collection downstairs, and that fits really neatly inside the fireplace there. Because I like to layer, and I like to layer vertically as well as horizontally, I've used over in the corner of the room one of the antique water vessels I have, and I like to just keep a very simple display of either eucalyptus leaves, maybe a rose. In this case, I've got some branches with some spring buds that have come on there. It's very simple, but it's very effective for me. I absolutely love the whole philosophy behind the concept of home. It's something that I've studied and focused on for a very long time. And that's partly because I've moved so many times over the past 20 years, and each time I've tried to find the essence of what actually makes a home a home. And what I've come to realise in the later years is the essence of a home is really what your story is with it, and how you feel that you are translating that through colour and through the objects that you collect. It is so important to have a narrative with your home, with your space, because nobody else is going to have the same home as you. So it's really important that you can get your inspiration from magazines and from online platforms, but you need to be able to edit those choices and curate it in a way that makes it a soulful one for you, so that you can have that story with your home. And there you have it. You have what I've called an aesthetic narrative, and that's something that I specialise in and try to help people achieve. What is their aesthetic narrative, the soul of their home? What I love most about my home is the movement of light and the mood of it. It's a very soulful space. It has dark moments and it has bright moments. So without doubt, what I love most about my home is the way the light moves throughout it, which gives me a chance to experience the spaces in different ways throughout different times of the day, and indeed throughout different times of the year. So adjoining the bedroom is the bathroom, which has a little lobby with an antique mirror from Italy and a couple of sea scenes, paintings. And then you come through to the bathroom, which is slightly different in colour, and that's because I had one rule, which was I wanted the decorative objects and the colours that I used to remind me of my childhood in Italy when I used to swim in the sea in Sardinia. And so the colour that I chose for the tiles is a very particular type of chartreuse that reminds me of swimming through seaweed in Sardinia. There's a spot where I sometimes go. The colour of the seaweed is so particular, and when you swim through it, you are literally submerging yourself into this beautiful chartreuse. So the green tiles have variations of this colour, so it's not a block colour, it's not a matte colour, there are different degrees of the colour in there. So when I'm in that space, I'm literally submerged again into the seaweed. And to kind of play on that a little bit more, I've got this fantastic succulent plant which really does look like some of the seaweed. And just like the rest of the house where I have themes, I have more themed paintings here which are of sea scenes, shells, boats, random pictures that I found in random places again, and I love to do that maximalist thing of overloading the space with lots of paintings, whereas the antique bookcase here holds some of my most prized corals and shells and sea urchins. The sea urchins are in fact what I used to dive for in Italy, so I have lots of these just sitting around, and quirky books such as The Wonders of the Shore and some antique corals that I've picked up, and the abalone shells. I used to play with the abalone shells actually, like marbles in the beach in the sand. And I think the drama of the bathroom here really is using the curtains instead of shower curtains, which I pull over a little bit more when I'm having a bath. I light all my candles in there, and it's just an experience. It's really relaxing, it's beautiful lighting, and it just really gets me ready to shut down for the day. The candle holders here are the fleur-de-lis symbol, which is again playing on my surname, and a bit like the grate in the fireplace downstairs. They were a gift from an interior designer friend, and they're great. They work really well for me. And I didn't want a conventional bathroom, just like the kitchen isn't conventional, so I sourced a cabinet that was the right size for me and a fantastic large basin, and had that mounted on top. So again, it's that very relaxed look in the bathroom, and I've put two of my very old urns from my very early floristry days that I've kept, and they decorate the windowsill just right for me. In the corner I've got a couple of oars, boat oars, which I thought was quite a quirky little touch, and a great sea scene again of a woman by the water. When I was designing the bathroom, I decided to use the original panelling that I found behind some stud work in the wall here when I was repairing. So this panelling here was actually the original woodwork used on the inside of the wall here. Not so much at the time the property was built, more so when it was probably renovated a long time ago, but it was so beautiful with the variations in the colour that instead of disposing of it, I decided to adapt it so I could use it as the panelling for the bath instead of having a conventional panelling or plastic even. This bathroom really does set me up for the day. It's a great space to come into. I find it very relaxing and invigorating at the same time. The word home to me means a space where I can transport myself to beautiful memories of my past, things that I cherish, and a space where I can grow as a person.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Philip. Welcome to our London apartment. Please come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hello, my name is Philip Vergeilen. I'm an interior designer with Paolo Moschino, and we are currently in our apartment in London. Well, the reason why I like this apartment when we bought it is we had a small house in Chelsea before. The high ceilings and the sort of feeling that you're in Paris in this apartment was for me very appealing. Since we bought it, the apartment has gone through various iterations and colors and what have you. This is the current state. If you come back in a couple of years, it probably will look different. When we bought it, it was a 5-bedroom apartment. And I shared this apartment with Paolo, so there's only 2 of us. And we entertained quite a lot. So we turned it into a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 reception rooms and a dining room. It's made for entertaining. The initial look was probably more extravagant than now, if you can believe that. But we pared things down to the current state. Welcome to the entrance hall of my apartment, the apartment I share with Paolo. The entry hall is entirely paneled. It's quite a simple place. But if I want to point out one thing, it's a drawing from Cocteau, and you will see when we go around the apartment, it's really my favorite artist. There is not a room without a Cocteau in it. So the pendant lights that we have 4 are made bought in America, and they are in mercury glass. That gives sort of the shimmering effect and not the naked light bulb that you see. What I find very important is the entrance should always have a console and always have a light on. There's nothing more annoying than when you go out and you come back, you want to find a light on the console. It's painted in a very pale gray, and that gives it, you know, a fresher feeling, and maybe it doesn't feel so narrow than perhaps it looks like in the pictures. The other interesting object in this entrance hall is this piece. This piece. It's called a gogot. It looks like a piece of sculpture, but it's not. It's just this is created by nature, and it's 30 million years old. The flooring is original. It was much lighter in the beginning, and I had it stained because I don't like yellow floors. So, but they were here, and they were actually one of the best surprises of this apartment because the whole apartment was covered in carpets. So we took the carpets away and found the original flooring. From the entrance hall, I will now take you to our drawing room, which is the room where we receive our guests for drinks. I know immediately when I like things. It's the same thing when I'm the best shopper. I know if I like something, I buy it. I'm not, I hate or I love. I'm rarely in the middle, and I love this apartment from first sight. I think what you will see when we go around the apartment, there is not a single room that doesn't have several Jean Cocteau drawings. We have a quite substantial collection of Jean Cocteau, and that is very typical. It's also typical that it's a French artist, and a lot of what you see, it comes from different periods and different origins. There is a French feeling in this apartment, and that's what I want. So here we are in the drawing room. It's very obvious in this room is how much I love the artist Jean Cocteau. Every piece of art in this room is by the same artist, from the large Jean Cocteau over the mantelpiece to a wall full of Jean Cocteau drawings. This is the room where we, when we entertain people, this is where we start. So people come in here and we serve drinks in here before dinner. There's a funny story about one of the objects here. As you can see, there's many objects, but the funniest one is this dove. And we found it in a flea market in Rome for literally nothing. And it turns out to be by a famous artist called Botero. So that was a bit of luck that we had. The other piece is from Mitorage, and the third one is Berrocal. The final piece I want to talk about is, for me, something very precious. It's a gift from a friend, but it started as a client. And it was a birthday gift, but the text says that we started as clients and ended up friends forever. So I thought that was a nice gift. The fireplace is working. It's gas because real logs are not permitted in central London, but it's something that is on most of the time in the winter. Now it's too warm to make it work, but it definitely works. And you can see something that I said previously. What makes a home is, for me, there's flowers in every room and there's books everywhere, even underneath the sofa, because I run out of space where to put them. In the first design of this room, the mirror was not around the fireplace. The mirror was where the bookcases are now, and the fireplace was empty. Then when we bought the bookcases, then we turned it around because we wanted to have the mirror around the fireplace. The bookcases are actually a design by Billy Baldwin for the Library of Cole Porter. These lamps are part of our collection. I bought the original pair and then we cast them and we sell them. This is my design, this leopard. I told my mother I was going to have a leopard carpet in my living room. She said, "Oh my God, you're becoming a dictator style." But I think the white sofas sort of calm it down and go well with the carpet. These pair of chairs are 1960s vintage from a designer called Paolo Buffa, Italian. They're quite unusual design because it has the back that goes down. That's what's unusual about it. Well, the window treatments are very simple, and because we have two connecting rooms, they're the same in both rooms. It's the white linen from Belgium, and the sheer blinds are also linen from Belgium. I'm a great fan of low lighting. I never, if I can, put a chandelier or a pendant in a sitting room. I think low lighting makes people look better rather than getting the light from above. Sideboard is by a famous American designer, Robson Gibbons. One of my favorite drawings for Jean Cocteau is this one, and it's a portrait of Luisa Casati, La Marchesa Casati, who was a legendary person in early 20th century in Venice. But it shows how crazy she was. She was famous for walking her leopard on around Venice. Well, I have a quite abnormal career history. I've always been passionate about interiors and design, but when I graduated from university, which was a business school in Brussels, I started a career with American Express. And I stayed with American Express for 17 years. I was, at the end, I was global head of marketing for American Express. I lived everywhere, from New York to Washington to Frankfurt to then in London. And then things changed and I left American Express and I started my interior design career with Paolo Moschino. Paolo and I now own the business together and we run the business together. I'm mainly in charge of the interior design. I do projects all over the world. Just finished a house in Mustique, doing several hotels in Italy, a chalet in Courchevel, chalet in Stade. I travel a lot. Paolo takes care of all our shops. We have 3 shops in London and a showroom in the design center. And he's in charge also of all the merchandising, the fabrics, the lighting, and the furniture collections we sell. I have strong opinions, and I must say that whilst Paolo has great ideas, he is easy to work together. So our style is very compatible. So most of the time, I get my way anyway. From the drawing room, I'm now going to take you to the library. These were 2 separate rooms and we created this opening. But we still wanted to have some sort of a division, and that's why we put this Coromandel screen here, which is Korean 18th century. The flowers are Japanese, also 18th century, and they are made in wood and gilded, and they were traditional offerings to the gods for good luck or whenever people prayed. That's what my interiors are probably most known for, is bringing things together from different periods, whether it's a 1960s armchair or an 18th century Coromandel screen. And for me, that's what creates depth and personality in an interior. Follow me to the library, which is quite different from the drawing room. We installed the paneling here. The way we use this room is, as I said, in the drawing room, we receive our guests for drinks. We then go to the dining room to have dinner. And when we come out of the dining room, this is the room where we finish the evening. The bronze here is very precious to me because it was in the house of my grandparents. And the other thing I like to point out, I don't know if you can see it, but under here, there's a collection of letters that Elsie de Wolf wrote to the Duchess of Windsor. And as you know, Elsie de Wolf is probably the person that invented the work of interior designer. And I have several. I bought them from the Elsie de Wolf Foundation in LA. The sofas are our design, so it's part of our collection, and they are covered in crushed velvet, and they are about, I would say, 20 years old. And the good thing about crushed velvet, in my opinion, is that the older it is, the nicer it looks, because it sort of gets a patina that makes it look nice. The rug is a woven jute, and it's custom made. This is a different collection. These are all old master drawings. I have a sanguine here. What is funny about this is that this is a drawing of the birth of the son of Napoleon. And then, you know, the empire, the French Empire collapsed. And above, you see the drawing of the death of that same person in Austria. Because of the paneling, we had a door here, but we continued the paneling. I didn't want to stop the paneling, and that's why, you know, it's a normal door, but just clad in the same paneling. So there are pops of blue in this room, and it really started with this pair of armchairs that used to belong to the Duchess of Windsor in her Paris house. The artwork above the fireplace, I have absolutely no clue who painted it. It was at Christie's. I remember I was traveling, I saw it, and I said, Paolo, buy this painting at any cost. Wasn't a lot, but since then I've always loved this painting. Somebody should tell me who painted it. This door is hiding a television. I won't open it. And a lot of objects that sometimes I take objects out and I put another one in there. And then these doors are full of books. Most of the lamps in this room actually are vintage lamps. So most of them, you know, we bought mainly in Paris. We go very often to the Puce, which is the flea market in Paris, and or we bought them in auction. This is how, you know, sometimes things get out of hand. I buy one box and then I see another one, and then all of a sudden I have 12 Coromandel boxes. But I like the way it reflects the screen that is the divider in this room. So there are tables everywhere, and that is, yes, it's very much to make the room comfortable and for people to be able to put their drinks down. The one object I'd like to show you is this one, which is the travel inkwell of the last Tsar of Russia. As I said, there's a collection that reflects most of it actually are gifts. This is an Italian object, and it's for good luck. The sign is like this to ward off evil spirits. And another inkwell that I have, it's belonged to the mother of the last Tsar of Russia, and she was obsessed with polar bears. So this is supposed to reflect a glacier with a polar bear on top of it. Well, here you see our love of Coromandel again, although this is not Oriental. It's an English 18th century desk, but with Oriental decorations. The piece on here is from the Christian Dior collection from the 1950s. And I just thought it was a beautiful object. As I said earlier, this is where our parties end, but there's one room that I would like to show you which is a dining room, which is where we go now. Do I consider myself a maximalist? Not really. It's just the fact that I'm a hoarder and I'm a shopper and I like buying things. And then what you see here, the version of the flat now, is the edited version, because I continue to buy things, and if you open the cupboards, there's a million more objects in the cupboard. So I try to keep it calm, but the effect, it's definitely not minimalist. I think the way to find your personal style is get over the fear of interior design. I think, you know, you need to take risks in order to have good design. If you always stay in the middle of the lane, you're going to end up with a design that, you know, might be pretty, but that will have very little personality. So people need to believe in themselves and not be afraid of being judged by others. Just do what you like and what, you know, something that makes you happy. So from the library, we're now in the dining room, and just, as you can see, we're having dinner. We're having friends for dinner tonight, so the table is set for 6. And as I told you, there is another room in this house that doesn't have a Jean Cocteau. This is another Jean Cocteau, and it was a mural, actually, in a famous restaurant called La Méditerranée in Paris. Our love for silver, I guess. The centerpiece is by Buccellati, and this is, but it has no flowers. So it shows that you can make a beautiful table, or I think it's beautiful, without flowers as well. We just use every object you can find in the house and put that on the table. 18th century silver chargers that we use. As I said, the centerpiece is by Buccellati, which is very famous for this type of silver that is fruits and vegetables and what have you. And instead of flowers, tonight we're going to have these birds, which are 18th century Chinese, which I bought at Christie's. The glassware is early 20th century, and it's from Belgium. The type of entertaining here is, yes, we use a lot of candles. I never light the chandelier because, again, I don't like light that comes from above. We used to serve simple food. I don't like very, complicated food. And because Paolo and I don't eat meat, it is mainly seafood and fish. Another wall of mirrors, similar to the one in the drawing room, and a French terracotta statue of a river god. And it's quite an impressive piece because it's the focal point as you walk into the room. A funny story about this room is that when we bought this apartment, this was by far the ugliest room. There was, instead of a door in the middle, the door was there, and then the door to the kitchen was there. So this is a fake door to balance out and create symmetry, and we put bifolding doors in the middle, again to create symmetry. We have a window here, but this is not a window. These are just shelves full of china. But again, it was about to create symmetry. This I liked because I bought it at in auction. It has a double P and stands for the Prince Philip of Belgium. And because Paolo and my initials are double P, I thought it was a fun set to buy. My family had an uncle who was a general. And so this has the Royal Crown of Belgium because I think he had quite high opinion of himself, this general. So you see the symbol of the army, but with the Royal Crown on top. I rarely use it because I find it slightly pretentious. The curtains and the pelmets I actually copied from an American place called the White House, and it was redecorated by one of my heroes, Stéphane Boudin of the Maison Janssen, for Jackie Kennedy. And I thought it was very pretty, so I copied it. It's very, very dark chocolate lacquer. And I work with a specialist painter for many, many, many years. And I asked her to do this. And I had to beg her to do this because she didn't want to do it because it was too much work. There are about 12 layers of glaze on here to achieve that sort of depth of color. But it's definitely chocolate brown, it's not black. It's nice for candlelight because it reflects the candlelight. The candlelight reflects in the mirrors but also on the walls. A collection was born. We saw these lamps, we liked them, and then we started adding things to it. It's all French ceramic. The birds, however, are Asian, and so is the elephant is also Asian. And I like to use them also on the table. Well, again, my addiction to Jean Cocteau, another Jean Cocteau. This time it's gouache, and it's a famous piece because it's called La Dame à la Licorne, so the unicorn lady. And I didn't want to hang it on the wall, so it actually stands on a Perspex easel. So from the dining room, I will take you now to the kitchen where the food is actually prepared. My favorite thing about the apartment by far is the high ceilings, which are rare in London. And there's just a certain look that you can acquire only if you have high ceilings. If you tried the same look in the same thing in an apartment with a meter less height, it would look completely different. What makes a home come alive is, for me, I like books, I like flowers, I like things that I can look at and things that bring a smile to my face. That's what gives it personality. So here we're now in the kitchen, and the piece behind me is English. It's 18th century. It's a painted piece of furniture, but with a lot of patina on it. This is where we keep all our silver, plates, candlesticks, anything you can think of. I think these candlesticks are quite amazing. They're English and 18th century. We use everything here. That's why it's not wrapped or anything, because we use this on a daily basis. And we're very fortunate because we have Eddie, who's our butler, and who is a master at setting tables. This beautiful, I think, beautiful silver basket was a gift from somebody you all know, Bunny Williams, and it was to celebrate our collaboration that started 2 months ago. To be fair, I never cook. I can't cook. I can't even make an omelette. But it needs to be practical for cooking purposes. I don't think a moody kitchen is convenient. I always like dining rooms separate from the kitchen. I rarely do open plan kitchens. But it's also because I really like having guests and I like entertaining, and I think it's easier if you have a dining room. This is an old table that we bought. It weighs an absolute ton because of the marble top. It's an oak English table with a very thick Carrara marble top. We used to have a central chandelier here, but when we bought the house in West Sussex, I wanted to use that chandelier there, and so temporarily we put these two pendants. Temporarily has now become 3 years. I still don't like them, so I must get the courage to replace them soon. Now we're done in the kitchen, and I want to show you the rest of the apartment. Let's go to the bedrooms. I don't have a favorite color or a favorite pattern that changes, but most importantly, what I try to do is to understand the personality of my clients and try to give them a platform that reflects their personality. It should not reflect mine. It's not my house that I'm decorating. This house reflects me because it is my personality. But what is most important is when a project is finished, I don't want people to walk in and say, oh yes, this is Philip's. No. This should be reflecting the owner's personality. It's easier to do a project for somebody else because, you know, when we redid this room about 6 months ago, and it was such an upheaval in my own house. I continue to live here, so it's easier to have these upheavals in other people's houses. So at the end of the corridor, there's a smaller corridor, and it's painted black, this one, and it has at the end another Jean Cocteau drawing. It divides the two bedrooms that we have, the guest bedroom on the right and the master bedroom on the left. Well, we're in the master bedroom, and as you can see, the focal point is the bed. It's a 4-poster that goes all the way up to the ceiling, and the room is all white. This room is a room that has so many incarnations. It started as an all-white bedroom, then it became a golden, sort of mustard color bedroom. Then we had the chocolate brown bedroom. We went back to white, and that's my favorite color to wake up in. What you see behind me is a painting that we bought from the collection of Nureyev. And the rest of the drawings are, surprise, surprise, Jean Cocteau. So they're all drawings of hands. This is plaster beading, which is very much something typical, and it's a design we often use in rooms. Let's look at what we have on my bedside tables. First, always flowers. So these are tiny little hyacinths. Clocks everywhere. Paolo loves to collect these Cartier little clocks. And most importantly, picture of my grandparents. The master bedrooms in most of our projects, and also for us in our different houses, is always the most calm look. I like them white, I like them sparse. I mean, it's not minimalist, but we have edited things much more. If you would come to my house in the country, our bedroom is white, and it looks like a cell of of a monk. It's so simple. Oh, this is what's called a dumb valley. So it's when I get undressed, I hang my jacket, my trousers, always on this. So we've seen the master bedroom. Let's have a peek at the guest bedroom. I think you can be much more ambitious and daring with the guest bedroom, because guests don't stay forever and ever, but it's sort of to give them a surprise. And again, this room has had many incarnations. All the drawings by Jean Cocteau, and then a 17th century Belgian tapestry. This is an 18th century French Louis XVI bed that we bought in Paris. The rug is a Bessarabian rug, so it's a flat weave, and I just like the colors. I think it complements very well with the rest of the room. There will always be water, there will always be chocolates and flowers. I've learned a lesson though. In the country we have many more guest bedrooms, and we used to have them all on standby. Basically they had to be ready at any time, which means water, chocolates and flowers. Unfortunately the chocolate attracted mice, and so we learned that chocolate shouldn't be constantly in the guest bedroom. These are two inkwells. This inkwell is a copy of the tomb of Napoleon in Paris, and this one is an 18th century French copper one. Again, you see a clock from Paolo's collection. They're everywhere. The turtle is for good luck, because Paolo is very superstitious and collects turtles. So many that in the country I had to start putting them in drawers because there were too many turtles everywhere. Oh, it's a Chinese figurine that was a gift. I love the color, but it's very delicate, and therefore we made this perspex case around it. The word home is, for me, is a place where you are content. I wouldn't say happy, because happy is it's not as profound as content. It's a place where you can chill out, you can sit, look around you, and be happy, be content.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Kemi. Welcome to my home in London. I call it Cottage Noir, and I'd love to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
Hello everyone, I'm Kemi Lawson. We're in Stanmore in North London in my home, which I call Cottage Noir. This house has a very long and interesting history. We think it was built around 1750, 1760, and it's actually two cottages, two workmen's cottages. One was a bakery and one was where the baker lived. And sometime in the last 20 years, the two cottages were converted into one family home. So the walls are about this thick. They're really thick brick walls with a lot of kind of lime plaster, natural plaster on them. It's got lots of fireplaces, lots of wooden beams, which we think have been repurposed from some ships. This is very much a family home. I live here with my husband and my two little daughters, who are 10 and 12. And it's got a lovely story of kind of continuous residence from people from 1750 up till now. And I know so much about this house because when we moved in, we inherited this lovely book which was full of information about the house that successive people who have lived here have filled in, from the census records in 1760, so we know the name of the actual baker, up until people, you know, living 20 years ago in the house and the kind of work they've done. So it was a lovely feeling of we're now the new custodians of this house, and then we'll pass it on to the next family when we move. I immediately knew I had to move in when I came into the house because I just loved the aesthetic and I loved the energy that I felt in the house. I termed the way I've decorated this home as Afro-Aristo meets Caribbean Nan chic. Now let me explain what I mean by that. Our heritage is Nigerian and Jamaican, and I've definitely drawn on these two different kind of black heritages to inform how I wanted the home. So I've got a lot of kind of fabrics and textiles and art and color that remind me both of my childhood spent in Nigeria and also of my mother's country, Jamaica. Welcome to the Cottage Noir hallway. As I said, this is very much a lived-in family home. It's my daughter's 12th birthday today, so you'll see balloons and cards, which we use to celebrate today, and I'll talk you through a few of the other items in this room. So the first thing you see when you come in is this wallpaper, which is a black and white wallpaper that I sourced from this designer in Haiti called Yela Valerie. And what they are, if you look closely, are little houses. And these are Haitian houses called gingerbread houses. And it's what the Haitian aristocrats and the powerful people of the 1900s used to built to live in. So if you remember before, I said my aesthetic was kind of Afro-Aristo. I wanted to show the high end, the luxe of the African and African diaspora experience. And these gingerbread houses really encapsulate it. They're really clever houses. They're very very cool inside and hurricane resistant, and they're also architecturally really beautiful. And there's lots of different ones all around the wallpaper. And then it's such a great wallpaper. You even see a little lady lying down reading outside the house that's really detailed. And so I love the idea of you're coming in a house and then you're seeing houses, which I also extended here, which I have art of lots of different houses again. And what's special about this particular painting is, along with the book I was telling you about, which talked about the house's history, I inherited this picture of the actual cottage that I live in. That was, and we'll leave it here for when we move for the next people to live in. So it's a lovely kind of memento of Cottage Noir. Over on here, I have the console, which of course is full of all the kind of Doritos of family life, but on top I have a few things that are quite special to me. The first is this candle. So we've got into designing our own things with the cornrow, and one of the first things we designed is our own candle, which we always have burning here, and we put a phrase on it, "Fine girl." So we spent our childhoods in Lagos, Nigeria, and it's a real ubiquitous phrase out there. You hear fine girl," and it's kind of like something everyone says and always brings a smile to people's faces. So that's what we call the candle. So we have a fine girl and a fine boy candle on site. And I also have this, which I bought at auction. It's so pretty. Every time I look at her, I just can't stop. It's called a lobby head, and it's also from West Africa, but this time from Burkina Faso. And they're meant to be protectors of the home. So I thought it's quite nice to have it in the front as well, because she's going to protect our home. And so I love the energy of it. And I also love her cornrow styles. My daughters often wear their hair like this, and it's lovely for them to see it represented in art as well. One great thing about living in a cottage, it's full of quirks that you wouldn't necessarily have in a modern home. So this window, we're not quite sure what it was, but we think perhaps this is where it wasn't a window once, and it was a little opening where the baker might have dealt with their customers kind of through this hole here, and that's now been made as a window. But regardless, it's brilliant because it lets all this light into hallways. Cottages are usually traditionally kind of dark places, but it gives us a great avenue of light. And of course, I put a little picture of my husband there to kind of jazz it up a bit. But yeah, it's great you notice it. We've even got smaller windows upstairs. It's full of interesting features. One part of sadness for me is that I've mentioned a lot about Yoruba, which is my traditional culture, but I don't speak the language, and neither do my children. However, we're trying so hard to introduce it to them. So what I thought when we moved in is I would get a custom rug, and instead of welcome, which of course rugs traditionally have, it will say ekabo on it, which is my language, Yoruba, for welcome. So every time someone comes in, they'll see ekabo written here, and I got a font, kind of like a handwritten font, and so it's a great marker as soon as you open the door that you can see that this is a proud British Yoruba home. So let me show you my living room. My professional journey has been a real pivot. For about 15 years, I was Miss Finance. I worked in investment banks, I worked in valuations, I was all spreadsheets and working in the City of London. What happened is I had a big kind of change around the same time that I moved into this house, because I just so enjoyed decorating the house and finding and sourcing things that I loved, that I wanted in my home, combined with the fact that I found it so difficult to actually do this because it was very hard to find this kind of modern Afro-Aristo Caribbean and chic aesthetic that I was telling you about. I realized there was a business opportunity here. So I decided to kind of ditch the finance, which I realized actually wasn't my passion anyway. I've always loved history and heritage and art, and so this felt much more me, and set up a business with my sister called The Cornrow, where we would be, as it were, a curation and edit, a one-stop shop for people who wanted this kind of modern Afrocentric aesthetic that I just adore. I am so lucky. It really is a breeze working with my sister, and I'm not just saying that. We've just got we agree on the important things in terms of what we think is beautiful and our aesthetic and what we want out of the business, and we also have complementary skill sets. She's very good at kind of the digital marketing side and that kind of the business logistics side, and then I work more on the creative side. So it really works. And if we ever have an argument, then our mum can sort us out. So here we are in my living room. The first thing about it is there's two fireplaces. One works and one doesn't. This is the one that doesn't. So then I thought, okay, let's have a lot of fun with this in terms of interior design. And I got a black and white geometric tile kind of all through. I made them lay it randomly, which actually is harder than it looks, because I just didn't want it to look at all like it had a plan. And so they managed to pull it off, and I'm really happy with it. And I was very lucky that I found an artwork that really complements it, and a blind also with black and white geometric. So it became a real theme of this room, which I loved. And I loved how it contrasted with the walls, which I've put a kind of a seagrass effect, so it gives it a really kind of textural effect, because I wanted it to feel kind of, the room to feel like a warm hug, not at all kind of cold and clinical. And then I had these two areas here which I thought would be great to make bookshelf reading. I refuse to go onto Kindle. I buy all my books, and so I need as much space as possible. So I filled it with books, and also just little mementos, wedding photos, my first going out handbag, just things that are really special to me. On top here, I have two dolls right here, which a really good example of what I mean by modern aristo. So these are dolls made by a Belgian artist who was really inspired by South African and West African doll culture. There were some lovely dolls which people used in West Africa, which were plastic, and everyone knows these little baby dolls. And she's turned them into these wonderful ceramic dolls and kind of decorated them in that black and white geometric vibe, which I love so much. And they're also available on the Cornrow, and we think they're really special. I've also got these two leopards here, which are reproduction Benin bronzes. So the Benin bronze is one of the most prestigious, amazing art forms coming out of Nigeria. You might have heard about the siege of Benin, where the British colonialists ransacked it and took a lot of the treasures to British Museum and other places. And there's a continued debate about they should be sent back to where they belong, which is in Nigeria. And so I've got this to kind of, as they're so beautiful artistically, and also reminds us about our heritage as well. These two ladies are very special to me. They're called Aisha and Sade. They've got the most magnificent, proud, regal expressions, and I can't imagine having a house without Aisha and Sade there. They're some of our most popular products in the Cornrow, and everyone who buys them just loves them so much, because they're just powerful, badass, wonderful women to have in your home. Sourcing things for the Cornrow is a kind of all of the above strategy. We always say we're on foot and we're online. On foot, we look a lot at auction houses, even eBay, sometimes you can find things, and also, of course, traveling. My sister just came back from South Africa. She got some wonderful things in Johannesburg and Cape Town that we've just put on the site, so we're always looking. And then online is such a great resource for us too. We were a business that birthed in lockdown, so much of the business has been online, and we've met other creators and makers, and which we've then put their products on the site and built relationships. And so that's been able to give us such a broader kind of, you can't travel everywhere, but online you can. And so we've got things, we've relationships with people in Haiti, again in South Africa, in Nigeria, in Ghana. And so that's just mean, the whole globe is at our dispersal, finding these products that we think are special enough to be part of the cornrow edit. So yeah, that's this side of the house. And then again, I've got some artwork as well. I'm always on the lookout for this. I think I was just walking down the street and I saw this person selling art and I was like, that's Grace Jones, isn't it? And he's like, yes. And so I picked that up. And then I have these dolls. Actually, this is the doll I was telling you about. That was the original dolls that children in the 50s and the 60s used to play with in Ghana and Nigeria. And then these are the modern version. So you can kind of see the whole story, the whole transition there, which I thought was really nice. My husband and my two daughters play the piano and the saxophone. In fact, we're really happy today because my daughter just found out she passed her grade 5 exam. So that was great. The other side of the living room is the business end with the TV and the sofa, which we all kind of come in, chill. I love cushions. If I ever see a cushion, my eye's drawn to it. We sell a lot of them on the cornrow. This one, I've seen in another Homeworthy house tour actually. It's by a wonderful South African designer called Shine Shine. And then this one is by a Haitian designer, Yela Valerie, the same lady that did the gingerbread houses, and another wallpaper that I'll show you when we go upstairs. We had to do the sofa custom because, of course, being a cottage, it's all got different lumps and bumps and we couldn't really buy something off the shelf, so it's kind of cut off to fit the mold of the walls of the cottage. But the good thing about needing something custom is I could choose whatever I wanted in terms of fabric. So again, I was looking for something that kind of brought in the kind of West African symbolism, imagery, and I thought that really worked with this kind of stripy design that I sourced over here in London. Something I'm very proud of is this wall art, which is called an Asafo flag, which is from Ghana in West Africa. And it's a kind of dying out form. It's kind of hand done by these artisans who kind of cut out the fabrics to make this flag. And traditionally they were used as part of military companies. So every military company on this area in the Ghanaian coastline had their own flag. And when you would see the British flag here, which is quite interesting for an African piece of art. And as I said, these people were coastal, so they had a lot of exposure to kind of the British Navy and everyone who's coming up in terms of colonialization. So they used some of the motifs from them. This one is, I really wanted this particular flag for the house because of what it represents, which is a proverb. And the proverb is about the welcoming tree, which bears fruit. So you can see the tree here with lots of fruit, and all the animals from the snakes to the bull to the birds are coming to enjoy the tree. And that's how I want the house to feel, like a welcoming tree and people coming to enjoy, to enjoy being with us in our company and hospitality. So that's this Asafo flag, and which we love them so much. We have more bookshelves here, which of course I'm very proud of. I've started to collect some first editions and stuff, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how that develops. I was really excited about these two chairs because they're black and white geometric, and I was looking for chairs and we had no chairs here for ages because they had to be the perfect chairs. And then when I saw these, I was like, we've got it. We've got, again, other cushions. Now, one thing about cottage noir is everything has an intention. There's nothing just here for being here's sake. So our cushions, this isn't just any old lady. This is a Haitian revolutionary freedom fighter, Sanete Belair, who died for the Haitian Revolution. And she is, again, this is this wonderful Haitian artist, and this is her cushion. And on this side, we have a representation of an ancient queen of Benin. So again, I've talked about Benin Kingdom. It's very important to me, the story of Benin, and it's lovely to see the queen here on my cushion. So draped on the chair is a throw. I love the color palette. I just think it goes really well with kind of black and white and warm aesthetic of the living room. And embroidered on the throw is an expression that is really powerful for the Black community. It says, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. And it's an expression that basically really speaks to the colorism that's so often in society, and lets my daughters know that, deep, dark brown skin is beautiful. And then, talking, as I said, about the modern Afrocentric aesthetic, another example of that is this beanbag here. So the fabric, it couldn't be more ancient. This is called adire fabric. It's made in Nigeria. It's like a hand dye. Adire means to tie and dye. So it's a tie and dye fabric done by hand. Everyone is completely unique. People traditionally used it for clothing. But I wanted to modernize it, so I've made it into a beanbag, which I don't think has ever been done before. But I thought it was a great way to kind of have an ancient an ancient fabric, but within a kind of modern context. Here you have kind of more books and artwork. This is a lovely Ghanaian fertility symbol. I'm a bit wary of holding it because 2 girls is enough for me, but it's a very powerful and very beautiful piece of art. This I picked up on travels to South Africa, a little handmade ceramic. I love it because it's like 3 ladies done really lots of beautiful detail here. And I love the colours as well. You know, so many times when people think of West Africa or African art, it's bright primary colours, which is great, but it doesn't always have to be like this. And and one detail I love about this is they've all got little babies on their backs. As you see, it's actually how we all carry our babies in West Africa. This is something I picked up recently in Paris, in a flea market in Paris. And I asked my daughters when I came back, can you guess what it was? And they couldn't guess. And I don't blame them really, because it's actually a pillow. So traditionally in West Africa, you'd have these beautifully ornate braided styles, and you wouldn't want to ruin it, would you, by sleeping flat? So people would sleep on things like this to elevate their head. And what I love about it is it's just something very functional, something to elevate your head, but somebody's taken the time to carve and paint it beautifully. And it's quite unusual to see something painted quite so vibrantly. So it caught my eye immediately in Paris, and I was like, bonjour, this one please, and my best friend, and managed to secure it. This is a working fireplace. But again, I've put things in here which I think I love it because you've got this traditional 18th century English fireplace, but then I've got African masks here as well, and then this geometric vase which we love and also saw in the corn row. And then it was important for me to put cotton in the house. Now I've read on the internet, it's quite interesting, different views about having cotton as an aesthetic in the house as a black person, particularly as a black American person. Obviously, there's a lot of ties here with cotton plantations and slavery and all that. And so I did think of it myself, but I was thinking of it as kind of celebratory and a remembrance, really, better than celebratory, a remembrance of kind of people, of ancestors and what they've been through and what they've overcome, and, you know, the beauty in that. So that's why I think it was lovely to put cotton in the house. I think my favourite thing in my home is something that's in my bedroom. It's a framed work of art which was given to me on my Yoruba traditional wedding when I got married 15 years ago. And it's a letter that's been handwritten on hand-woven fabric, which is it's a traditional letter that the groom's parents give to the bride's parents, asking, please, can Kemi come into my family and marry our son? And it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful work of art on its own. And then it's such a lovely message that my in-laws have written to me. And then on top of all that, it's a fundamental and wonderful part of my ancient Yoruba culture. So it's kind of 3 in 1. I think of it as a family heirloom, and I really hope my children and grandchildren will have it in their house somewhere. And it's, again, as I was saying earlier, it's unique and special to this family, and so priceless, really. Then I would like to talk about this coffee table, which is an auction purchase. It is a repurposed coffee table. It was not built to be one. If you can see, it's got a giant slab of wood underneath, which we think was part of maybe a church or some kind of municipal building, you know, the other way around. And so that has obviously been taken off the building, chopped up, turned around, and someone's put a glass on it. And hey presto, it turns out to be a piece that's perfect size for the coffee table, for the sitting room. And then on top of it, you know, another space to store all my books, which I have kind of rotate them depending on what I've just purchased or what I'm dipping in and out of. So I've got my books here, and I always like to have books in case the girls might be interested in reading something, trying to get them to read as much as possible. And then finally, inside the books, you'll see this here, which is actually a board game called Ayo, A-Y-O. And it's played a lot in Nigeria, but actually across West Africa and quite a lot of countries in the global south as well, actually. My daughters play it quite a lot with their husband, and it's you need to be good at mental maths. And it's kind of like you move these around the board in order to get certain numbers in each certain hole. And so it's a lovely, aesthetically, it's a beautifully carved piece of wood, but it's also a fun game to play. Let me show you the rest of the house. Let's start off with the kitchen. I would say my personal style, is kind of modern Afrocentric. Like, I would be pretty sure when you came in this home, you would know that was somebody of African heritage or someone that was very close to Africa and its culture and its soul, but in a modern way as well. So not just, when you think a lot of times people think of kind of Africa, West Africa, go to rural scenes or safari scenes and all this kind of stuff. And that's just not my way. When I go back to West Africa, to Nigeria, that's not what I see. I see a modern, vibrant community. And so I wanted to bring that in as well. Also the fact that it's a family home, it was so important to me that I wanted somewhere that my two children could have a relaxed time, nothing too precious here, things that will inspire them. They're having a sleepover on Saturday, things that their friends will, come and enjoy being in this environment. So as much as I wanted it to be visually very kind of representative of my heritage, I also wanted it to be a warm, welcoming, fun place to be. Welcome to my kitchen. The kitchen is actually the room I did the least with. It was quite a good kitchen cabinets here already, and I rather use the budget on the rest of the house. But the one thing I did do, as you might be able to guess, is just choose a bright green color to repaint all the cabinets in. I wanted something fun and vibrant to kind of encourage me to be in the kitchen as much as possible, because I'm not the most enthusiastic chef. And also the kitchen is very close to the garden, so I wanted to have that kind of feeling of bringing the outside in. It was quite hard to choose the right shade of green, because you might go to a paint shop and there's like a million different greens, and I knew in my head exactly what I wanted. So I was so excited when I found this one and it worked out. I did commission one thing for the house though, which I couldn't resist, which is this, which is a mosaic actually by a lovely artist, UK-based artist called Dion Ibley. And we talked about it a lot. I wanted it to be mainly green because of the green cabinets, but I wanted it again to represent this kind of modern Afrocentric vibe. So what we did is we took two fruits, the ackee fruit and the Scotch bonnet fruit. One which is really popular and iconic in Nigeria, which is Scotch bonnet, which makes all our food really spicy. And then the ackee is the Jamaican national fruit. So she made little mosaic Scotch bonnet and ackees in various stages of ripening and kind of put it on here. And it's a great dual purpose because it's a splashback to protect my walls, and it's also kind of really aesthetic and celebrating my culture and heritage. Other thing, again, as I always say, that always makes me smile is that everything is intentional in Cottage Noir. So even our tea towels, we don't have regular like checkered red and white tea towels here. This one here is Toussaint Louverture, which is the, you can tell I have a bit of a love affair with Haiti. He's the Haitian freedom fighter that won independence from the French. Absolutely amazing, in the 1700s. And the story about him and his image is here on the tea towel, which is lovely. And again, I'm hoping a little subtle history lesson for my daughters. And then even my oven glove here is brilliant. It's black hands, because again, it's what we said about representation. It's black people living in the UK. Often, you look on the TV or in shops and you don't see yourself anywhere. And I wanted, where it really resonated at Christmas when I was looking for black angels for my girls for the Christmas tree, and I couldn't find any. But it's not just at Christmas. So when I found products like this, which is great, and it's got names of black musical stars across the ages, I was like, I need this in my home. And then, of course, to sell in the cornrow as well, which is where it's really popular. Well, this cottage is just on so many different levels. You had one step down to go to the kitchen, then two steps down to go to the dining room, which I wasn't planning on showing the dining room today. I'm kind of in between doing some interior designy work, because there's a dining room and there's another room at the back here, which is a shame, but I can't show you. They're not really ready to film. But you can just see, you're right, the different levels. And upstairs, again, lots of steps and everything like that. And then, of course, these wonderful beams that you'll see going across the house that we painted in various colors. Two girls, you need a lot of organization. Organization isn't my strong suit, so as much as I can write things down and schedule things is best. And so when I had this wall here, I had the idea of using chalkboard paint rather than ordinary paint. And so that means that I can kind of write and rub off quite easily. So I've got the week schedule of what the girls are doing every day, which is really helpful. And I also have more space here, which we kind of use as needs be. So it's just ways to help me be organized. And actually this wall's pretty interesting because here, you know, to have a random kind of key here, which we think is something to do with the original baker's oven. No one's really sure, but it's kind of like a fun little quirky thing in the house. Next, I want to show you a super cool secret door we have. You'd probably get two different answers to whether my husband was involved in interior design, depending on who you're talking to. I definitely was involved, and I kind of gave him options of things and made sure he liked everything, so he didn't just feel kind of like swept away by it all. But I was lucky enough that he kind of handed the reins to me. I mean, one thing is he does have a man cave, which he did choose a lot of the decoration and the furniture there, so that made him happy. But the overall aesthetic, I'm to credit or to blame, depending on what you think. If you look down there, you'll see what looks like a bookshelf. It even has a light fitting and a skirting board at the bottom to show that it really is a shelf. But it's not actually a shelf. This is actually wallpaper, and it leads into my husband's man cave over here. So again, we wanted the house to be fun and surprise visitors, and so this was really important for us to kind of, we saw a door and we thought, what can we do to make it interesting? Let's head upstairs and I'll show you the bedrooms. As you head upstairs, you can't miss this wallpaper that I've put in this corner here. This is a wallpaper about the 6 ages of Black womanhood from Yale and Valerie, the Haitian designer I mentioned earlier. And it's got a woman representing different eras of Black womanhood, back to the Benin Kingdom, which I was telling you about, to freedom fighters in the US. Sorry, not this one. This one is a freedom fighter, Catherine Cleaver, the US Civil Rights Movement. We've got Sanita Belair, who is a Haitian revolutionary. We've got a woman who kind of crystallizes kind of every woman looking after her family. And we've got a woman here who is a spy at the Haitian Revolution. Where is she? Here. And really managed to get lots of secrets out of the French. So each picture tells a huge story. And what I love about it, not only is it bright and vibrant being yellow, but it's the first thing my daughters, whose bedroom's right here, what they see every morning when they leave their bedroom. So I really hope it kind of pumps them up and inspires them. Let's go check out one of my daughter's rooms. So this is the smallest room of the house, and when we first went into it, I was like, oh my gosh, where am I going to fit a bed? It's so small. And then we realized there was a little cubby area here, which was actually the perfect size for a single bed, which would be brilliant for my 10-year-old daughter. So we custom built this bed, and of course, being cottage noir, it wasn't just going to be an ordinary bed. We decided to make it into a princess bed. So I got some, the curtains to be made into this kind of pull back here, and at night time she closes them when she's feeling like she wants to be all snuggled up inside. And then inside we've put a custom wallpaper. Now if you can see carefully, it's actually lots of lots of mattresses, because it's based on the story of Princess and the Pea, and sleeping under, the pea was underneath and the princess could feel it. And so I hope it makes her feel like this is a princessy kind of bed. Decorating is a combination of her stuff and my stuff, which you might be able to see the difference here. I love this product in particular. It's our Anu mermaid cushion, which is also available in the cornrow. Again, coming back to representation, I just wanted her to know that she can be anything, even a mermaid. And it was before the Little Mermaid movie came out with Halle Bailey in it, so we were there first, and we love it. And then, of course, the important storage at the bottom, because I think the best kind of design is when something's visually appealing but also works and is useful. And so these two huge drawers underneath hide a lot of stuff, so it helps her room be uncluttered. Yes, my daughter, she definitely does have a lot of input on a lot of the soft furnishing she chooses, and then the color of the wallpaper. So we chose a particular kind of wallpaper which reminded me of that tie-and-dye Adire fabric that I told you about earlier. And she could have chosen any color she wanted, that wallpaper, and she chose this kind of soft gray color. So that was great. So it kind of a way that I kind of was very much involved, but she felt like she had some agency as well. So being an ancient cottage, every room has a fireplace, because of course that's how they kept their houses warm in those days. This fireplace, though, has been cottage noir. It's been put, I wanted a punchy colour on it, so we chose a green colour, so it kind of made a more feature of it. And then what she did, and she actually helped get involved in this as well, is we've put this kind of glitter paint over it. So at night time it really kind of sparkles as well, and makes it kind of like a fun feature of her room. I love this picture. It's one of my favourite pictures of my daughters, and that, I don't know if they still do it now, but about 10 years ago it was a real thing to do a cake shot of your daughter, kind of let her eat her cake in at her first birthday, and I love this picture, and we had to really convince her to eat the cake. She's not so happy to have it. She thinks it's a bit embarrassing picture, but I just think it's the cutest thing. I think one thing I think you should have, I don't like to be judgmental, but one thing I think is wonderful to have in kids' rooms is just lots of books. Now, if I was not myself, this would be lovely, arranged beautifully, and it was when we first moved in. Now you can just see this is a very much lived-in bookcase, because she's always taking books out, putting books in, sharing with her sisters. And so we've got a wide range of books for children across the house. Again, you'll see a lot of the books have got the representation that I think is so important. This is one of our favourite. He's a Black British historian called David Olusoga. He's amazing, and he does these books for young children. And then we have a combination of fiction, non-fiction. And again, as I said, with the bookshelves downstairs, it's great not just to have bookshelves, but to have little knickknacks here as well. So we went to Kennedy Space Center. She has something from there. They're always trying to beat their time on their Rubik's Cube. And then she has art that she's made herself. Because, you know, the best art, to go back to what I said earlier, is the things that your family make, or what you create, or what make meaning to you. So I think I'll never lose some of these little cutie things that she did at school. I think what gives home a soul is personal possessions. Yeah, that's why I feel like every home really should be individual. What makes it unique are the things that are unique to you, whether it's your mementos you picked up on holiday, or your favorite books that you have on the bookshelf, or the postcards that you picked up at this exhibition you liked last week, or, you know, things like that. Your own personal archive, which I think shouldn't be stored away in photographic albums or in cupboards, but should be displayed and enjoyed. And that's what's you, and that's what gives your home its soul. This is my older daughter's room. She has the same wallpaper as her younger sister. Again, she could choose whatever colour she wanted, as long as it was that particular wallpaper. And so she went for purple because it's her favourite colour. Now, the big argument that me and my daughter had in the room was about the bed, because I fell in love with this bed at an auction site. It's an antique bed, kind of the same period as the house, so I thought it just matched it perfectly, and it just reminded me of like a fairy tale cottage bed. She loves it now, and it's super comfy, but I guess she wanted a new custom bed like her sister, so luckily I managed to win that battle. Again, I have a real love affair for curtains and stuff. I think that comes from my Jamaican heritage as well. And so we got this custom curtain to go over it to give her that kind of more cozy, grand feeling. And then a lovely little flower print at the behind here. So that was really special. Again, my girls have a lot of input into what kind of duvet and the soft furnishings. They can choose that, so a lot of it is them. This is her favourite cushion, which her grandma made for her, and you can see it's all a bit dog-eared now, but she won't sleep without it. She had a fireplace as well, so this one was, again, purple to give it the pop of colour, and glittery. And then all sorts of services. I always feel almost more is more. I just love it as an expression of the things that we collect and we love. And she has these African Russian dolls on her fireplace, which are great. I always thought Russian dolls, you can get Russian dolls of dolls, looking at dolls, or looking like pets, or looking like flowers, but I've just never seen a black woman on a Russian doll. So I actually commissioned some and to sell on the corner, and then I had to have some at home as well. So this is a lovely set of kind of African women Russian dolls that she has here. Venus and Serena Williams, the sisters book, that takes pride of place. My girls play tennis too, and although I don't think they're quite Venus and Serena standard, it's lovely to kind of have that kind of parallel. And she has her 2022 vision board up that we did at the beginning of the year, and see how that's going. And just little thing, this used to be a hat when she went to a little prep school here, so we've kept that as a little piece of her personal history. My girls love these. They have so many of them. I have no idea, but whenever they have a birthday or we go shopping, they always pick up another one. I think they're quite popular with the tweens in the UK. Let's head to my bedroom now. Okay, welcome to my bedroom. So across the house, you saw, as I said, I kind of like a lot of things, a lot of energy, a lot of more is more. Apart from my bedroom, I actually had my bedroom trying to be the most minimal Zen room of the house because I really just kind of come in here to sleep. I don't even have clothes in my bedroom. I just really wanted somewhere that I just come and relax and unwind. So there's basically two big things in my bedroom. One is the bed, which I wanted to squeeze in the biggest bed I could so it'd be maximum cozy. And this headboard, which I was really excited about. It's a friend designer of mine called Eva Shinaike. She's a Nigerian British designer, and this is an ancient symbol of eternity. So I think that's lovely for kind of a bedroom, like a marital bed. And then, of course, the wallpaper, which I just love every time I see it. It's clouds. It actually is wallpaper that had to be laid in a very specific way to get that kind of continual effect. And again, we wouldn't want to lie down sleeping in the clouds. The ceiling of this bedroom, a very pale blue color. I wish I painted more ceilings actually. I feel like it's a fifth wall that often gets ignored, but I just didn't want that kind of harsh white next to this wallpaper. And I just wanted everything to be pale blue, which is what I did with the cupboard here and the bookshelf. Atop here, you'll see what I was talking about earlier, the letter that my husband's family sent to my family asking for my hand in marriage. And so we've had it framed here, and it's kind of a central part of the bedroom. And then that's basically it. It looks out to the garden. I just wanted a calm room. I found in IKEA actually, a lovely light fitting that I thought looked a bit like a cloud, which I thought was worked well with my cloud theme. And yeah, just wanted it to be a restful, warm space. This is a sculpture that I picked up in Jamaica. It's actually a man and woman, it was their wedding day. So you can see they've sculpted the woman with her flowers there, looking adoringly at a very proud, recently made husband. And given that this is a room I spend with my husband, who I love to bits, I thought it was a lovely little representation of this. These light sconces are by a UK company called Pookie. I wanted them, as I said, I love reading, so it's a great way that I can kind of read and my husband can go to bed and switch off his one and I can have a bit of light. I wanted to get a nice shade of kind of blue that complemented the walls, and I just love this kind of brass fit. Okay, so come into this room, which is girls only, girl gang, and it's my daughter's bathroom. So they got to choose the design of this bathroom. They wanted all very minimalist and zen and spa-like, which I was like, okay, you can. But I was allowed one cottage noir touch, which were these tiles that we put here by the bath. And these are one-of-a-kind custom tiles made by a wonderful UK company called Ballineum. And they were made for an exhibition I did at the Museum of the Home. And they're cameos of black women with different hairstyles. And so it's very unusual, again talking about representation, to see a tile of a black woman or a cameo. So these are really special, and the artists really did a great job in kind of showing different colors and different hairdos, and this one, and earrings and everything. So it's lovely when the girls in the bath to have this kind of visual imagery for them, and adds a lovely warmth to this otherwise very aesthetic, as the girls love that word, aesthetic bathroom. I think home to me is an exhale. Like, that's how I feel. Like, I think so much is going on in the outside world. As a black woman, as just somebody who reads the news of what's going on right now, as someone, the economy, there's so many stresses outside the door. And I just feel when I come in and close the door, I just want to exhale and feel myself. It even happened today. I came in quite flustered, and as soon as I kind of got home, had my cup of coffee and everything, then I could feel my shoulders droop. And that's what I want for my family as well. It's our little solace, our safe space, and our place where we can kind of regenerate, ready for tomorrow.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Michal. Welcome to my home in London. Please come in.
I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles?
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Michal Silver. I live in Gunter Hole, Gunter Grove. It's on the edge of Chelsea, on the borders of Fulham. It's that part of Chelsea that's so fussy, it's not so pristine, and it's a mix of beautiful buildings and a bit of a council flat on the side, and there's some nice cafes, and then there's still a few shops that are a bit run down, and I have that feeling of a real sense of a city. I'm sort of a North Londoner girl. We've lived in North London for about 25 years since we moved to London from Paris. And I loved the green, and we had a wonderful garden. But the commute down to Chelsea every day was just so, it was just too much. And there was a moment that I said, I'm going to give up the garden. I want more of a city life. And we looked for a space that wasn't as traditional as other spaces, and I just came by chance. I went on a website, a modern home, saw this place, and I walked in and just felt like this is the house that always waited for me. So it was so interesting because we hardly did any work to the house. We didn't move a brick. We painted the walls, we redid the bathrooms, and we sort of got ourselves sort of in the groove of the house. And it's interesting because it has a real historical significance. It was a chapel used by these nuns, and behind the back was where they used to live, and there was this refectory where they ate, the laundry sort of on the side, but we got the praying area, the chapel. And it was used for as a recording studio in the 60s and the 70s. One of the bands was the Rolling Stone that used to record here. And the rumor says that maybe David Bowie used to live here for a while in between apartments in London. So a bit of history here, quite eclectic, but we love it. So we haven't done any work, and we especially love, when you look up here, I love the windows with all the stained glass windows, and there's something very London about this place, because it's not defined, it's a bit quirky, and that's really what London is all about, is this mixture of structures, periods, temperaments. So for me, there's something very nostalgic about this place. Welcome to my home. Welcome to Gunter Hall. I love this little entrance hall. I love the tiles. We've created that. They're a mix of a pattern, and we just laid those triangles together, and they work so well with all these lovely ceramics. I love the work at 8 Holland Street. It's the most beautiful gallery in London, and I love their ceramics on this sort of more mid-century teak sideboard. And then come with me into our living area. And it's what I love about it. It's one big space, but we've created these corners. So we have the reading corner. Usually I sit here with my husband, we read, we love reading. You can see our bookcase. And we had to get rid of so many books when we moved here. It was one of my husband's requests. And the dilemma now is whether I go back and reread them or I keep buying new books and reading new books. So I'm sort of in between. At this point, I'm still buying new books. But yeah, I have to read every day. Reading is part of what I do. The best way for me to relax is to get about 30 minutes or an hour every day to read. I'm not a big TV person, so I think reading is a really part of what I do when I come home. The wing chair is a chair that's been following me from Israel for about 30, 40 years now. I bought it in the 80s and I love it. It could be a chaise longue. Once in a while, we'll just change the covers. And that's with a Romeo Gili rug that was created by Christopher Farr. It's an original woven keeling in Turkey. So I love the splash of color and the energy. You know, you walk into the house and you see everything, and then you discover these little corners. So this is our dining area. We love having friends over. We love entertaining. I love cooking. So that's a big part of what we do here. Dinners are a big thing in our home. And we have here a Sandra Blow, which I adore, this collage. We used Sandra Blow as we created a collection of wallpapers with the archives of Sandra Blow. So it's a very personal painting for me. Jean Prouvé table and chairs and Eames chairs, a nice mixture. Again, lots of pops of colors. You can tell that red is a color that I love, I connect with, has a great energy to it. I love Jean Prouvé because it's so functional, and I love the mixture of wood and metal. And it's really very much, he was an engineer. He didn't train as an architect, he didn't train as a designer, and then sort of with work and construction moved into being a fabulous architect and a designer. We love having friends over for dinner. Dinner is always very informal with us. So we have some plates from Mexico. I love those hand-painted plates. They're so, you could just feel the hand, the way they painted it, they burnt it. There are lots of faults, lots of mistakes, but I love that element. These are some glasses from Jerusalem. It's very, very traditional Jerusalem glass in the way the shapes. My mother's silverware, and these are the best ceramics, Spanish ceramics. You find them all over Spain to cook with. You put them in the oven, everything comes out so delicious, so wonderful. So very eclectic, very informal. That's the way we basically set the table when we have friends and the families over. I think I was drawn to art, as a young kid. I wasn't very good in school. I wasn't very, very academic. And I went to university. I studied art history, and parallel to that, I was very ambitious then. I was young and very energetic. And I did 3 years of art school. And it sort of meandered into fashion. And I worked in New York and Paris in fashion for about 15 years. And when we moved to London, I worked with Mulberry, and I was their head designer for the men's and women's collection. And I was working very closely with Roger Soule at the time. And he said to me, why don't you use some of our fabrics from our home collection in the men's and women's collection? And I did it, and I fell in love with textiles. And then I said, that's actually what I want to do. And I met Chris and Matthew. They had a very successful, very known artistic rug company. And I said to him, let's do something together. And that's how we started. That's how we started Christopher Cloth in 2000. So it was a sort of, again, a natural transition from fashion into textiles, and color and pattern were really something that defines what we do. Craftsmanship is another element that's very, very close to us, very dear to us. So our rugs are hand woven, our prints are hand printed in a small printouts in the outskirts of London. And we work with different designers, artists to develop the collection. It's actually quite a small kitchen for someone that loves to cook. But again, it's functional. I have everything here. I love my oven, my fridge. It's just, I have everything sort of around me, some light coming through, and that just feels like the perfect place to cook. I can cook and I can talk with friends while I'm cooking, so that I love the fact that this open space is wonderful to having dinner parties and being part of the conversation while I'm sort of prepping and getting the last bits done. I grew up in Israel, and we grew up with, using local products, fruits and vegetables that are in season. Always it's olive oil and garlic and lemon juice. And we don't eat that much meat, so a lot more fish and cheese and really a good loaf of bread. Very simple, but good quality products. So, and I love baking, so there's always something, a sweet treat at the end of a dinner. It's shelves by Dieter, which were done for offices, so it's something very functional again, and I love that contrast. I like that very simple metal, and it's modular, so you can add to it. And then we put all our wine glasses and our tea cups, our tea, and when we want to have some espresso, some cappuccinos, or these Mexican hand ceramics. And then we have some decorative plates. This is a plate from Israel. I love it's Palestinian, drawn by some Palestinian ceramists. And then this is a plate that years ago I got from Tiffany's in New York. I just love the way everything works together. So when I cook in a very eclectic way, and there's the cutlery, the ceramics, the plates, it's all a mixture. But somehow with colors, this comes from Spain. I found it somewhere. So sort of all these little elements remind me of my travels. My kids always buy me ceramics or a bowl or something. This comes from South Africa. So I just love all that mixture. So it's all these memories that are sort of treasures that I have on these shelves. It feels very functional. It's not fussy. It has sort of an entrance hall, which is very small and welcoming. And then you walk into this big space, and it's almost like sort of a cathedral feel to it. And what we loved about the space is the flow of energy, and you just you meander from the living area into the dining space, to the kitchen, and up the stairs to our bedroom. And there's even a small terrace outside of our bedroom, so we can sort of have a view of the London sort of buildings, and just something very urban about this place. It's been a year and 6 months, so it's been 18 months in total, and we're still getting used to the house. And it was interesting because when we moved in, we brought all our old furniture, and gradually we're changing, and we are sort of organically going through and feeling the space, and then the space really is the dictator, or informs us, or gives us that sort of sense of what's right and what's wrong. I think what I love about this place is how minimalistic it is, how structural it is, and there are no embellishments, there are no decorative elements in this huge space. The only decorative element are these stained glass windows, and I just love the arched long, big window with this flanked by these two more smaller, narrow windows, and then those stained glass elements in the windows, and these are telling the story of the nuns and the order that used this chapel and the monastery that was housed in this area. When we moved here, we moved with all our old furniture, and gradually we started changing and editing the furniture we had to fit this space. I think I always feel that less is more. So I sort of am always drawn to interiors, to spaces that have a lot of white space, a lot of area around them. So I wasn't concerned about filling this space. It was just adding or taking away elements or pieces of furniture or art that didn't feel comfortable in the space. So we're just learning and sort of feeling what the space, and the space sort of tells us what to do and how to do it. So it's a very, it's almost a conversation, and we're very patient about it. So we're not fussed about if it doesn't look perfect. It doesn't. It just has. There's some movement in this space, literally, where you walk between the different areas, as well as the way we are decorating and putting everything together. So I'm sitting on an IKEA sofa. This is a sofa we bought in Paris when we moved in and we didn't have any furniture. It's one of their most known sofas, but it's in leather. So it's been with us in Paris. We moved to London, and I just love it. I love the simplicity. I love all the history that this sofa tells. There are parts, the leather is totally worn and wrinkled, and I just love all those imperfections. And then we have the Günther Stolze rug by Christopher Farr. I love the Kilim rug on a wooden floor. And that sort of dry hand with this very organic, very round sofa, upholstered in a boucle fabric, again a Christopher Farr fabric. And I love the fact that it's white and these very low sofa, the proportions against that height. I just feel it works very well. And obviously it's facing the fireplace. It's a great place for us during the winter. We love having a fire, and we'll just have a fire and sit and read or listen to music. The sound, because it was a recording studio, is fantastic here. So this is sort of a really big space, but because we break it down, it's really cozy. An Eames table that works great with this sofa. Color is a really important part of, I think, our lives, and there's something very informative about color. You know, you see the way people dress or the way their homes are and the colors they use, and you just get a sense of who they are. So definitely my favorite color, I always alternate between hot pink and reds. It depends on the season, the mood. But I think color, and it can even be with pillows. You can integrate and you can bring a certain feeling and through spots of color. You don't have to decorate your house with, not everything has to be with color. But if you look at our living space, so we have a very neutral sofa, but then the centerpiece is this lovely rug by Günther Stolze. The art on the walls is very, very colorful, and we kept the walls very white. I was playing with, I was just sort of thinking, oh, maybe I should have these walls painted in different colors, and it's a space that could lend itself to color, and maybe we would do something very moody with these dark olive greens and maybe dark navies, and then sort of went back to just using white, and then there's a sort of patch of green leading to our very little baby patio. So that's sort of a hint of color. It sort of peeks and leans into our space. we have the Fiore, this painting by Sandra Blow that we have it as wallpaper. And in this sort of, that led us to this wonderful green patio. So it's the same green, and there's some plants in it. And again, the same triangle marble that we've created, sort of a mosaic, a pattern, sort of a very asymmetrical pattern. You know, it's going into winter, so some of the plants are sort of been moved into the garden from the patio. I love color. I love color, but in a sort of, in a very Bauhausian way, I think. Color for me comes in certain, it's very structured, it sits and defines a place. And I felt that this green really defines this very little space and gives it meaning. So I love that element of using color in a structural way. So that was, and then the green, obviously the outdoors, but also with the Sandra Blow Fiore, it just felt so wonderful together, so organic. It's interesting that art was always in the center of what I do. And I think that was the connection with Christopher. Christopher went to art school, so we sort of shared that same background. So art will be a starting point. We work with archival collections by artists such as Raoul Dufy, Sandra Blow, Annie Albers, but also throughout the process, I always refer back to certain artists that I love their color sense, or I use them as references when we are working on colors, when we're working on scale and pattern. So I'm constantly going back to art history as a point of reference. So I would say that's probably my most focused point of reference. But then obviously, you know, traveling, talking with people, going into a restaurant, a piece of music, all that background is definitely part of how I sort of feel, or how I just get the sense of what I want to do, or how I want to develop, and how we want to continue with a certain collection or specific pattern. I love our guest bathroom. I just love the fact that it's all wood, there are no tiles, there's a marble shelf, and on top of it is the sink, and the sink is very sculpturous. Spaces that work small, but it works well. I'd love to take you to the bedroom now, so please follow me. So again, we have this wall, a red wall, so red again. And I love using color to define a shape, a space, a place. And the other side is a wallpaper that's a work of Annie Albers that we've launched about a year ago. And that's from her archives. It was designed as a carpet for a kid's bedroom. And then with that, we have one of my favorite fabrics we've designed. It's designed by Kate Blee. It's untitled, and it's very Mark Rothko in feel, those overlap of squares and rectangulars. So it's still one of my favorite ones. So our bedroom is, again, very simple. Some art on the wall. I love this painting by an Israeli artist that we have quite a nice collection of Israeli art in the house. A lamp by Scarpa, which he was an architect, designer, and he had a very Japanese, very influenced by Japanese design. So something very sensuous about his interiors, his buildings, and his product development. I love this room. I love the shape. I like the fact that it's not symmetrical. But mostly I love the fact that I have a bit of a terrace, and it has a very urban feel to it, and the views are very much what London is all about. It's really incredible because this garden, this little terrace is a year and a half old, but there's so much light and water, and the soil is great, and you get this lush green plants, and they're so happy here. And just against all this buildings, they're all different. And that's so much the story of London, those different buildings, a mixture of gardens and terraces. So the skyline is quite unique. We don't come out a lot, but the windows are always open and there's always this flow of light coming in and the smell of the outside. And I look at the plants and I just feel that there's part of me that's still in a big garden. I'm very much of that less is more. And I never surround myself with lots of objects. I love people's I love people when they're collectors and they collect, and I love those homes. And I look at those homes in magazines and I say, wow, I'd love a home in a sort of a similar spirit. But then when it comes to my house, somehow I just can't live with too much around me. I think that my head is so cluttered. There's so much information and colors and patterns going through my head, and I'm surrounded with that all day long. And when I come home, I actually feel most comfortable in a much more monastic type of space. So I think that the furniture, the artifacts, the art tells our story. It's my journey through life. I think one of my first actually big purchase was the wing chair. It was designed by a Japanese designer, Kita, produced by Casina, and I bought it in the early 80s, just when it came out. And this chair moved with us from Israel to New York, to Paris, now to London. And it's so great because you can flip the covers, and every few years we'll just buy a few new covers, and you have these like ears, like Mickey Mouse ears, and they move, and you can even open it up and it becomes a chaise longue. So this is sort of one of the pieces that have always been part of my life. And then where I'm sitting, we used to have the beautiful V&A sofa by Ron Arad. And it's a designer that I love his work. I think he's one of his most prolific, most original voices. And it was great in our old house. When it moved here, it just felt somehow out of space and the proportions were incorrect. So we just got this new sofa. So it's really very, organic. And then of course, working with Christopher Farr, and they have the most beautiful rugs. So here we have a rug, a kilim by Günther Stolze. She was a teacher in the Bauhaus. She was a weaver, and we've been working with her archives for about 20 years. So this is very Bauhausian in feel, and there's pattern and color. And I just love the way it works in this chapel that's about 100 years old. This is our bathroom, and it's lovely to have these both sinks. It's a big slab of marble, and the very simple square tiles. I have a collection of ceramics by Clarice Cliff, which I love her work, and I find it so modern and contemporary. So this is, again, a way for me to bring color and pattern into my life, but in a way that I can live with, and it still have this very, the feeling when I come into this bathroom is there's something very pure, very serene about this bathroom. So I love taking baths, and I just got used to taking baths every day now. So this is just such a nice treat. Obviously we have the shower from the ceiling. It's quite hidden. But this is where we start the day, and it's nice to have the light and this type of space. It's a metal grid, and it has a bit of a stylized floral pattern, and I just love it. And it's a great way to, especially when you want a little bit of privacy, to just get light through it, but still have a bit of privacy, definitely in a bathroom. So that's very functional, but quite decorative as well. And I love that mixture of the plain tiles that are very structural, very simple, and the metal and this very decorative element in it. These are rag rugs, and I bought them in Sweden about 20 years ago. And it's so interesting because we all talk about sustainability, but people were living in a much more sustainable way 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and reusing scraps of clothing and either using it as quilting or making rugs with it. So actually we are always looking back and looking forward and actually dealing with the same issues. So I love the fact that recycling and sustainability is such a big thing, and you still see it in different cultures, different countries, and different times as well. So there's a historical reference to recycling and sustainability as well. I had a very nomadic life. I've grown up in Israel, I've moved to New York and then to Paris and to London, and I also thought that London would only be 2 years. We've been here for over 25 years. So home is for me a space where I feel totally comfortable. I walk in and there's no noise. I'm just comfortable where I am. And it's a place that I love having my family, love having friends over.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Timothy. Welcome to my London home. I'd love to show you around.
The founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz. You're here at my home in Los Angeles.
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. To access all of this exclusive content, simply click the Join button below to become a member today. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello, I'm Timothy Griffin. I am co-founder of Wellbrook Hospitality. We create hospitality brands and operate hotels, and also co-founder of Leven Hotels, a new hotel brand where we opened our first hotel in Manchester 2 years ago. Welcome to our home in Islington, North London. It's a one-bedroom flat, or two-bedroom flat. We converted one of the bedrooms into a study. The flat is only a four-floor house. We believe the house was built in 1825, so it's quite an aged property, but it's enriched with an awful lot of character. I live here with my husband, Nico. He has entrusted me to do all of the design of the home, with the exception of one room's wallpaper that he's very proud of telling our guests he selected. Yeah, as soon as we stepped into the house, we realised, and the vestibule and the entry hall is in itself seductive. As soon as you step in and you see the ceiling, it's a real wow moment. So as soon as we came in, we immediately realized that this was where we wanted to live. When we first stepped into the house, it was quite dark. The previous colour scheme used quite a lot of black in the ceilings and cornices, and some of the detail was picked out in gold. And a lot of deep red, so it was very dark, and the previous owner had really embraced the Victorian style of decorating, so with very, very dark rooms. It smelt a lot of smoke, smelt a lot of cigarette smoke. The previous owner had I think been smoking about 40 cigarettes a day, so that was very memorable, and a lot of heavy carpeting throughout the house as well. And when we took up the carpeting, we ended up finding newspapers that were lining the carpet underneath from about 50 years previous. So the carpet had been down for quite a long time. The bathroom was very dilapidated, needed a lot of work. So we ripped out the bathroom and redid that entirely, and we put down parquet flooring throughout, and did a lot of restoration, to bring the house to the home to where we see it today. This is our vestibule, so the room, ante-room to the hallway. The vestibule, we're very lucky to have the original Victorian flooring, so we have some very beautiful tiles here, which is a great welcome and entryway to the home. Great place for Wellington boots and umbrellas, all of the items you need for a cold and wet walk on Hampstead Heath, possibly, which is near to the house. This lamp is a 1920s style lamp that I've had since I was about 18. I've always loved it, and the monolith that it's based on as well. I've had it for many years, so I've always really enjoyed the elegance of 1920s pieces. So it's great to be greeted by that in the vestibule. And then we've got a couple of pieces of quite contemporary art by an artist called Diggy Lloyd, whom I met when I was living in New York. And for these pieces, she works with makeup. So these are smears of nail polish, and these are pools of nail polish as well, and foundation, which I thought was a really interesting medium for art, and really enjoy them as being quite unusual, and a nice juxtaposition with the Victorian heritage of the building. And then taking us from the vestibule into the hallway, we have these beautiful doors. They're not original to the house, but original to the period, so they're undoubtedly mid-1800s. I just love the beautiful stained glass, the red and the green coming through, and just this beautiful wood as well, and the patinaed brass handles I think are very, very beautiful. And they fit the space very handsomely. I think they're a nice grand entranceway to the hallway. And then the thing that your eyes are drawn to immediately when you come in the hallway is this beautiful ceiling rose, probably the grandest in the house and the most intricate and the most difficult to paint. when we painted it for the first time and had it cleaned, it was quite a challenge getting in all those nooks and crannies. But it's a very beautiful centerpiece for this hallway. When we love to entertain, and we love to have people over for cocktails or for dinner, and we want for our guests to feel immediately at home when they arrive. So we're lucky enough to have a front garden at the house and a gate. So whenever someone rings the bell at the gate, we always go down and let them in at the gate, and then bring them up the stairs, and they step into the vestibule and then into the hallway, and immediately they tend to say a wow moment, because the ceiling is so stunning in the hallway. And from that wow moment, we immediately want them to feel at ease. So once we've dealt with taking coats and umbrellas, if necessary, it's straight to the cocktail trolley to furnish everyone with drinks to make sure they're put at ease immediately. So we want people to feel really at home and welcome in our home. The style of the space is it's quite eclectic. I do love rich colours. I love rich blues and reds in in appropriate places. Not too heavy. I do love eclectic furniture, so there's quite a mix of found pieces, of antique pieces. I adore mid-century, mixed in with other pieces. It's very important for me that our home feels like a home. So I don't believe it feels too styled and uncomfortable. So we really want our home to be comfortable. Obviously, it's the place that we live, and we want to feel at ease here. So I hope that I've achieved the balance of creating a space that's I believe attractive, beautiful, but also one where you can kick off your shoes and lie back on the couch with your other half, and have a martini and be fully relaxed. So it is, it's quite an eclectic space, I believe. I love a lot of art as well, so always looking out for unusual pieces in unusual places. I love to cruise around antique shops and galleries and find unusual items. Charity shops as well is a great place to secure some great finds. So always on the lookout for for those special unusual elements to add to our home. And the home we believe was formerly a doctor's house. In the hallway there are a couple of cherubs that support the former staircase that used to be there, and cherubs usually in hallways represent good luck, and they're usually children's faces, but in our case they're nurses' faces, so we think that's quite a nice nod to the fact that this was probably a doctor's house in the mid 1800s. We are opposite at that time was quite a famous hospital, so it's likely that it was a doctor's home, so it's quite nice to think of the history in that way. And we've got the parquet flooring, so we put the flooring in when we moved in. Originally, it was there were floorboards underneath, and it was carpeted. So we lifted those and put parquet flooring throughout with this beautiful solid oak with a lovely honey coloured varnish and stain. So I think it's a very warm floor colouring, throughout the house. And then we've got this lovely textured Victorian style wallpaper here that I think is very, very charming, and just adds a lovely element of texture to the hallway that we enjoy. And this quite significant piece of art is by Tamara Robinson. It's called Midnight Meadows. Those of you who may have a keen eye may think that it should actually be hung the other way, and that's correct. It should be hung the other way, and when it's hung that way, it actually does look like a meadow at midnight. But I did feel that it looked, better hung this way in terms of the space that was available in this hallway, and I thought it just lent itself, very beautifully to the space. So, in terms of contemporary art of this style, I think you can maybe hang it whichever way brings you joy, and it brings us joy for it to be hung this way. And then we've got this 1957 diamond chair. It's one of a pair. I acquired them from a mid-century store in Greenpoint in Brooklyn, New York, a few years ago. We, at that time, lived in New York, and we had a nice balcony, so we kept them outside on the balcony. But we don't have a balcony here in London, so we've brought them inside. But I think they fit quite beautifully inside as well as outside. And I just love the patina of the chairs. They're kind of rusted and worn in certain areas, and actually surprisingly comfortable. You wouldn't think that a wire chair would be all that comfortable, but they're actually quite comfortable to sit in. And then we've got a couple of original radiators in the house, which is wonderful. They really send out a lot of heat, which is great. So it's really nice to have those, these quite elegant, pieces adorning the house. And these are the ceiling corbels that generally tend to be cherubs, and you tend to find them in Victorian or Edwardian hallways to bring good luck to the house. These are unusual in that they are appearing to depict nurses. You can see the nurse's hat here. And this really ties into the history that we believe is behind the house, that it was a doctor's residence in the mid-1800s. We have a mirror here. It's called a puddle mirror because it's not perfectly round. It's shaped like a puddle, which I quite enjoy. Again, it's another little surprising moment, I think, and something you may not immediately notice, but your eye is drawn to over time. So I do like the surprise of the puddle-shaped mirror. And then further through the hallway, we have a quite unusual piece of art that's clearly depicts a blue sky that I find actually very relaxing. It's a very calming piece of work that was painted by someone that I used to work with at the Waldorf called Victor Kozlov. He was an artist when he wasn't being a waiter, so he created that for a friend of ours who gifted it to me. So I've had it for many years. It's very simple, but I think quite serene and quite calming. And now heading to the bathroom. The first thing you'll notice is clearly the wallpaper. It's a lovely fern selected by Nico. It's House of Hackney wallpaper, which is a very well regarded upholsterer, wallpaper and design company based in East London. Really a big fan of their work. Quite bold to have a wallpaper in a bathroom, but we really felt that the room could take it with with its high ceilings. Lucky enough to have a nice original towel radiator holder here as well. We completely redid the bathroom when we moved in and put in the walk-in shower, so there was a nice kind of wet room feel about the space. It just really opened up a potentially small room. I think with a bath here it might have felt a little bit tight. And we have breakfast room green Farrow Ball paint here. This is full gloss, whereas all the other paint throughout the flat is matte. But we did feel it would be quite fun to have the full gloss in the bathroom. I think my career has influenced my choice of decor, and that I've been lucky enough to be exposed to a lot of very exciting interiors. And we when I was with the Hoxton, we did quite a lot of work with Soho House at the time. They operated a couple of the restaurants for the hotels, and I was involved in a lot of the interior design for some of the public spaces for the Hoxtons designed by Soho House. So I think the Soho House style has certainly influenced my aesthetic, particularly as it relates to found furniture and mid-century pieces, and being quite bold with some statement pieces, and I think they've certainly informed my aesthetic, and with hotels, and particularly the interior design industry within hotels. And I'm lucky enough to be part of a wonderful network of people in the US and here in the UK that are focused entirely on hotel interior design. It's a very exciting dynamic industry, and of course I keep a very close eye on what's happening in hotel design throughout the world. So all those things that I see and absorb and and witness certainly does inform my own personal aesthetic. Welcome to our study. This is where I mostly work when I'm working from home. And as you can see, it's painted in quite a rich blue. It's stiff keyed blue, Farrow and Ball. And I really love the depth of this colour, and been quite bold in that we've painted the walls, including the dado rails and the ceiling in the same blue. And a lot of people may be fearful of having that same dark colour on the ceiling and the walls, particularly in a room that's not terribly large. So we were quite bold in terms of making that decision, but it's actually quite a trick for interior designers to paint a room that isn't too large in a deep colour. It actually tends to add a sense of space to the room. Quite a bit of brass in this room, and rich woods. I think they're complemented very nicely by the wall colour. Have this lovely credenza here that has, it's a contemporary piece, but it has mid-century vibes to it. I love these dipping lamps by a Spanish artist. You can see the different color tones here. It's literally as if the lamp has been dipped in the various shades of blue. It's one of a pair that I quite enjoy. Big fan of Smithson, the stationer. We have our note paper from Smithson, Nico and I. We love to send thank you notes. It's something that we should all perhaps be doing a little more of to be mindful and be a bit old-fashioned with the snail mail. So we do enjoy to sending notes whenever we can. And also Christmas cards as well. We're big Christmas card senders, so we often get our Christmas cards from Smithson as well. I think it's a really nice thing to send to your friends. And then this painting, this character, we don't know who he is, unfortunately, but from his attire we can assume that perhaps he lived in the late 1700s, maybe early 1800s. He looks quite a grand person, maybe a little austere, but I do like the fact that there is, a certain warmth and twinkle to his eye. He seems quite watchful, so I do feel, quite comfortable with him, perhaps, watching over us to make sure we're safe. I love the style of the frame as well. It's a little patinaed. You can see there are some chips, coming out of it that I think, shows that it's lived. I did find it in a local antique shop here in Islington. Or just on a Saturday, I love to nip in there whenever I can to see what they have that could be fun. And I saw this, so it was quite a find. And as soon as I saw him, I realised that I wanted to bring him home. Other art in this room, we have this contemporary piece. This is of the Ward of Astoria in New York, where I used to work. You can see Park Avenue here and 50th Street here. This is St. Bart's Cathedral. Then you've got the Ward of Astoria here with the famous turrets at the top. And this was painted by Victor Kozlov as well. We have another piece by him. He was a waiter at the time and was given as a gift. So I do like to keep it here as a memento of my time at that grand hotel. And then we have this sideboard here that's quite an unusual shape. I love the softness of the round shape of it. Again, more Smithson boxes. This beautiful vase was given to me by my mother recently. She inherited it from her mum. I think it's very beautiful and something that's very, very special to all of us. And then this piece here is what's called at that time a lady's writing desk. It's 1825, and it was a wedding present from my mum to Nico and I on our wedding day. And at that time, it was used to write letters. And you can see it opens nicely, and there's a little secret area here where you can keep your secret letters if you have them, your special correspondence in here, which is quite charming. It's made of cherry wood, and I think it's very beautiful indeed. And you can see there's lovely little inkwells here at the top as well. So it's a very beautiful gift, and I was very, very delighted to receive it on our wedding day. Also, I'm not a great fan of generally tonally organising bookshelves. I prefer for books to be much more eclectic and to feel lived in and natural, but have made an exception here. As you can see, the theme is very much blue, so just selected blue books for this room for fun. Also, I have this beautiful Liberty clock that was my grandmother's, also passed to my mum, and she passed it to me to take care of. I think it's very beautiful. It's probably from the 1920s. As you can see, it's a lovely pewter case with beautiful green and blue colouring on the face here. I think it's very, very, very charming. So this means an awful lot to all of us in the family. And then down here is a lovely gift that was given to me when I left the Hoxton by my team at the time. I'm a big yoga fan. I do a lot of yoga, and I'm fortunate enough to do some yoga teaching as well. So this is me in one of my yoga poses, clearly wearing a very charming yoga outfit, my initials. And this was drawn by Jean-Julien, a French artist. So I was very, very touched when my team got me that drawing for my leaving. And we have one other character sharing the study with us, this young lady here. I actually found her just a couple of weeks ago in a charity shop down the street for a bargain price of £25. It's an oil painting. Again, quite a mysterious character in that she's clearly all in black, and at that time may have meant that she was in mourning. However, you can see she's got quite an angelic face and quite a beauty. So and a bit of a smile there, a bit of a smirk. So quite a bit of character, I think, here. And again, I'm always really charmed by these distressed frames as well. So I was really pleased to find her to add to our collection of unknown people. And then we've got a desk here. This is a reproduction mid-century desk. I think very, very elegant and a great spot to work from, so I can keep an eye on what's happening outside the window and enjoy the garden when it's spring and summer. And then this piece, this silhouette was quite popular in the 1930s, and again I think very charming. No idea who the character is, and I found this in a antique market in Islington on Camden Passage rather. It's signed by the artist, and you can see it's quite an aged piece, but I do think quite elegant. I like the silhouette quality of the piece. We have down here a piece that's quite unusual in that it's elements of Roman warriors. It's a plaster. It's terribly heavy. This is why we don't have it hung on the wall. But I do love the unusual quality. You can see arms and legs and heads and various parts of a torso, various elements, a foot of Roman warriors. So I think it's quite an unusual piece, and I do love plasterwork pieces, and I'd like to build more of a collection of those over time. When we did this room, we put in the detailing on the wall. As you can see, it frames the walls nicely, and also these sections here that we've inserted some hidden doors in here. That's great storage. It's mainly full of yoga mats, but it's a nice way to hide away storage. So both of the doors either side, blend in nicely with the walls. So we thought it was quite a chic storage solution. And now we'll move to the sitting room. I think what gives a home soul is firstly who you spend it with. Obviously I live here with my husband, and I think that absolutely gives it soul. Aside from the relationship component, I think color is hugely important. I think getting the right colors and tones and lighting helps to give it a soul. I think you can create a very beautiful interior and frankly ruin it by getting the lighting wrong. And when I say wrong, I mean too bold, too cold. So we have very gentle lighting throughout the house. In fact, we laugh that the lighting's probably too gentle in the bathroom, and that there's a danger you'll cut yourself shaving because the lighting is not white enough. It's focused more on being yellow and warm. So lighting is really important and really contributes, I think, to the soul of a home. And then thirdly, I think the pieces that you fill it with, of course, and that's can be art, it can be furniture, and again things that have meaning for you. So certainly being able to reflect on those elements contribute to a very soulful feeling for a home. Welcome to the sitting room. This room is probably one of our favourite rooms in the home. Quite a few, I think, interesting pieces here. We're met when we first come in by these monoliths. I found these in a cancer research store in New York City in the East Village a few years ago. I assume that they were previously church candle holders. There are recesses in the top that you can sit a large candle in. I think the wood is very, very beautifully carved, as you can see at the base and at the top, and I think lend themselves in this setting to be nice monoliths for the two vases we have on the top. This one is an antique vase that I found in a store called White Trash in the East Village. That's quite fun. Sadly, I did drop it, so we have repaired it with that Japanese style of repair where you mix glue with gold and then glue the pieces back in together again. And with the idea being that broken things or damaged items can also have beauty as well. So I think that's a nice reminder not to discard things, but you can bring the beauty back to them by repairing them in that way. And then we have these two pieces here that we love. They're by Anthony Russo, who is quite known for his illustrations in The New Yorker and elsewhere. He's quite a politically charged artist, and we found these pieces when we were spending the weekend in Hudson, upstate New York, and we were staying at the Rivertown Lodge, which is a lovely hotel there, and just next door to it is a really lovely antique store, and they stock Anthony Russo's art. So we saw these pieces and just really were hypnotized by the mystery of them both. And you can see the one on the left is quite interesting. What is going on there? What's in the box that she's either pulling out or putting under the bed? She's being watched by another character. You can assume a husband or a partner. There's quite a lot of mystery in that one. And similarly, the piece to the right as well. What are they talking about? What's going on between the two of them? So there's quite a lot of mystery there, and a lot of interest and charm. And I love that her reflection shows in the mirror here. And I think both of them, even though they're just using exclusively quite dark shades with the blacks and the greys, and in some cases kind of a grey blue. I don't think they feel too austere. I just think it adds to the sense of drama of the pieces. So we've always really loved those two pieces, and think they sit pretty well in this space. And then of course the ceiling is really I think the primary piece of work in this piece of artwork in this room. Obviously centered around this beautiful ceiling rose here. Very, very intricate, and then quite unusual to have the two layers of the coving here, and again very, very intricate. And it was quite common in Victorian periods to include fruit and vegetables in these motifs. So they were meant to bring luck, and you can see that in the ceiling. And then a lot of books. Nico and I are both avid readers. We don't have a TV. You'll notice there's no TV, and we don't have a TV for two reasons. One, for aesthetic reasons, because TVs are ugly. I think a lot of people have been very clever with hiding them in pieces of furniture, in case goods, and there are some very slick ways to do that now. But we've always preferred not to have a TV affect the comfort of the room. And secondly, we don't watch TV, so we'll watch things on Netflix, on our iPad and so forth, but we do read a lot, so hence all the books. So the books are not decorative. We didn't buy them by the yard as you can. Between the two of us, we've read all the books. So it's nice to be surrounded by by all of those those great reads that we've had between the two of us. There is no system. I've just laid them out so that they look misshapen, but still a sense of order. So that was the intention in terms of how we laid out the bookcases. This little collection of books down here is our to-do list. So these are the books that we have to read. So otherwise we forget which books we haven't read and which ones we have. So we have a system where the ones down here are the ones that we have to read. And then here we have these two Alfred Cherner chairs, 1958. They're called pretzel chairs because of the shape of the arms. I think they're very chic. I found these in a modern store in Brooklyn, in Williamsburg. And I think they're very, very beautiful. And again, it's really quite comfortable to sit in. And then this little mini painting here was a gift from our dear friend Rebecca. I met her when I was working in New York, and on her most recent visit to London for dinner, she gave us this painting. It's near where she lives in Boston. I just thought it was super, super charming. So I always think fondly of her when we see that painting. And then this lovely stool, this is from Soho Home, covered in a kind of sand-coloured boucle. Everyone has to have some boucle in their home, so this is my boucle contribution. But I did buy it because I do love the base, the kind of walnut styling wood, and I love the curve. I think it sits really nicely with this little vignette here with the churner chairs and the table in the corner. I think it works pretty well together. And then I'm a big fan of busts like this. So this one, again, I found here in London. You can see she's been damaged. We think she's Aphrodite. And then we have another character here that's a representation of a piece in the British Museum. I actually got him in New York. So I love the busts, and I love the fact that we have them in this location because they're not, it's not being too pretentious having them on a monolith or, a stand, having them on the floor in a kind of hidden corner just feels like a nice balance for something that could be quite grand, having it, having it in a position like that. And then I do love these obelisks. I've always, enjoyed collecting obelisks. So this one's actually from the Ward of Astoria. When they were doing a renovation, some of the suites have these obelisks. So I was given this particular one. It's made of wood, and then he acquired these couple of nice stone ones, marble and glass as well. So always looking to add to the collection of obelisks. And then Her Late Majesty, the Queen Elizabeth II, quite an unusual depiction of her by the East London artist called Pure Evil. And he's known for creating stencils that he cuts out, and then he sprays the paint onto the canvas, as you tend to with graffiti artists or street artists. Sometimes they use stencils. So his approach is to do that on canvas. So we've really enjoyed having her watch over us, and part of his signature is always to have the drip coming from the eye, so you can see it actually travels down the wall to the fireplace, and we've actually got a puddle that the piece comes with as well. So if you've got it on the wall, you can have the drip running all the way down the wall into the puddle on the floor, which is pretty cool. But it's quite a dramatic piece to really centre the room above the fireplace. And the fireplace is encrusted in black paint, probably not original to the house. It was installed when they were restoring it after the house was split up in the 1970s. But still, the piece is probably is most probably Victorian or Edwardian. I think it's very, very grand fireplace with these beautiful tiles with the florals you can see either side here, and again there's some nice florals in the top of the fireplace here. So very, I think very strong anchor for the room. And then we have a pair of side tables here either side of the couch. I've had these for many years. I actually found them on the street. When I was living in West London, I was coming back from a run. I was training to do a marathon. I think I'd run about 16 miles that day. It was early in the morning. I was doing my long run before work. And I was walking back the last block to our flat and saw these by the rubbish. And I thought, what a terrible waste. They have such beautiful legs and, very elegant detailing at the side here, lovely wood. So I took them home and cleaned them up, and we've had them ever since. And I'm not sure of their age, but I think they are probably quite an age. And I think there's definitely a story, because all four of the legs have this nice detailing, whereas you find the cheaper pieces tend to have solid wooden legs at the back. So I think they're probably quite notable, but I don't know very much about them beyond that. And then we have a nice magazine rack here that's 1970s acrylic, which is quite a juxtaposition with some of the wood pieces. So I think that's quite a fun fun piece to have, and I do enjoy the clarity of the acrylic. And then speaking of acrylic, this lamp was by Hamburger for Knoll. It's an acrylic base here, and then you can see the lovely brass top. I also got that in white trash in New York City in the East Village. As soon as I saw it in the window, I really wanted it. I just love the shape of it, and I think to have the acrylic arm is quite unusual as well. So really enjoy reading with that piece. My favourite part of my home is the sitting room. Nico and I love nothing more than to be on the couch having a cocktail on a Friday and Saturday, and enjoying each other's company here. So we do like to spend time at home together. That's not to say we don't love to go out, but we do love to go out. But also we love to come home. So I think the favourite part of our home is the sitting room. I love the architectural character of the building. So we've lived here for about 10 years, and I never tire of seeing some of the architecture within the rooms, and also it has a lovely frontage. I think it has a very grand but approachable facade to the building. So even arriving home of an evening, it's always so nice to be able to come through the front door and see everything afresh. I never tire of it. And then we have this little credenza side table here that's made of wood from railway carriages that apparently travelled across the US with cargo. So you can see the grooves here where they would have fit in with other pieces of wood at the time. So they've been obviously reclaimed and then created these tables. So it's quite a nice story, I think, behind that. This athlete, I think, is reminds me of a few things. I enjoy yoga. I do a lot of yoga. There are a few books about yoga through the house, and this piece really, I think, reminds me of the elegance of the body and power that's within the body, and just reminds me of the beauty that that yoga has brought to my life. So I do enjoy the elegance of this piece and just the strength of it as well. I think there's a really nice balance of elegance and strength in this particular athlete. And then behind we have a piece of art by Roy Appleton. He was local here to Islington. He just probably lived about 2 miles away from this house. Sadly, he died 2 or 3 years ago. But his approach was to take the canvas and then splat the paint at the canvas. I really enjoyed the colours. I thought they fitted quite nicely with the room. And then once he's applied the paint to the canvas, he leaves the canvas outside in his garden when it's raining. And that's how you get the nice detail in the drips here from the rain that came down. So he names them after the period that he left them out. So this is called Midnight Drops. So I think that's quite a nice story. And again, it just adds another layer to the art. I think you've got some nice London rain coming down at midnight onto the canvas. I think is quite charming. And then speaking of paint, the paint colour is Farrow and Ball Pavilion Grey. I know there's arguably an overdose of grey in interior design over the last few years, but I think for this particular room it works really well. I think it's a really elegant grey. It's a very light, uplifting grey, and I think sits quite nicely with the red that we've lined the back of the bookcases with as well. This is quite a bold, I think, raspberry red also from Farrow and Ball, and I think just adds a nice elegance and texture behind the books, and really the books are offset quite nicely with that background. So I think the colours work quite nicely together. And then who doesn't love a cocktail trolley? I certainly love a cocktail trolley. So we have this one. I got this in Modern Post, I think it was called, in Brooklyn, New York. I love the handles and the metal of the trolley. Lots of pieces here that are quite important to us. These were given to me by my mum recently. She had them at her house, and I admired them, and and she gave them to me. I think they're lovely stone. I think it would be great for a little quail's egg in there, perhaps. I found these glasses in a local antique shop as well, lovely for aperitifs. This lovely little holder here for toothpicks was made by my uncle as a gift for Nico and I, with our initials NT here. And then these little salt and pepper holders, Nico's, he picked them up when he was visiting Kenya a few years ago. And then brandy glasses from my father. He used to like a brandy, so we still have his glasses, and cocktail shakers given to us this Christmas by my uncle and aunt. And then a lovely bowl from Tiffany that was a gift from someone in New York that's great for ice, for making cocktails. And then we've got a few important bottles for us. One gift that was given to us by our dear friends for our wedding, a bottle of Port Roger champagne, and then a lovely port that was given to me by my parents that was made in my birth year, 1977. So we've still got it here. I'm not sure how it will taste if we open it, but it's been around for quite a few years now from that date. And then the table we've had for quite a few years. It's pretty beaten up, but we haven't changed it or recovered it or repaired it, because I think the patina really reminds us of the great dinner parties and friends that we've had over, and sharing joy on this table. So it just reminds us of those good times. And then we have the other set of the pair of the diamond chair just here. And then these lovely library steps that are from the early 1920s. So it obviously helps us to get to the higher levels of the bookcases when we need to. And then here we have a lovely pocket watch that was a gift to me by my parents on my 18th birthday. That's very, very charming. You can see it's a very intricate piece that has a very beautiful set of workings in the back. You can see there's just a little diamond in the middle here as well that helps all the pieces to work together, and you can really see all of the detail here. It's a very, very beautiful piece. So a very special gift on my 18th birthday. So welcome to the kitchen. By London standards, a pretty standard size kitchen. It's not too terribly large, but it works perfectly well for the two of us. We didn't need to do a lot of work in here. Most of the kitchen was here when we arrived, but we did put down this nice Victorian style flooring, and we kept the colour scheme as well, with this lovely blue wall with the makeshift dado rail in Farrow and Ball black tie, and then just kept this lovely 1960s schoolroom light here as well, which I think is quite chic. And here we have a image of the Waldorf Astoria, which was my going away gift from my time at the Waldorf. This lovely architect's drawing of the building that shows all of the detail of the building on Park Avenue. So again, I think very fondly of my time at the Waldorf when I see that. And then this doorstop down here is actually the top of a New York City fire hydrant. I did not steal it, but we bought it from back from New York, from our apartment there, where it actually was when we bought the apartment. So we inherited the top of the New York City fire hydrant. So it's quite a nice reminder of our time in New York City. The door is an original door. I like that in this room it's been stripped back to the wood without any paint. It's varnished, and similarly with the window frame as well. It's quite nice to add that element of lightness to the kitchen. And now let's head to the bedroom. My career has always been in hospitality. I had my first job at 16 years old as a waiter. in a hotel, and I loved it. It was so much fun. It was so much fun, engaging with customers, and I really enjoyed the theatre of hospitality. The folks you meet, bringing joy to people through service. It was a lot of fun. I was lucky enough to secure an internship to the Water of Astoria in New York City. So I went there when I was 18 years old and did a one-year internship, which was wonderful. I'd never been to the US before, and let alone to New York City. So it was quite thrilling to rock up at the Water of Astoria, having never been there before. It was a very memorable time. And I was lucky enough when I graduated from my degree program at the University of West London to be offered a full-time job back at the Water of Astoria. So I moved back to New York and spent about another 5 or 6 years in New York City working in various operational leadership roles, and progressed through the various divisions of hospitality within the Water of Astoria. And then I moved to the Hoxton, which at that time had one single hotel in East London, in Shoreditch, the Hoxton Shoreditch. Then the time became right. I'd been with Hoxton for about 10 years, and I wanted to do something different. So Nico and I moved back to London, and with 2 former Hoxton colleagues, we set up a new company called Wellbrook Hospitality, and we create dynamic hospitality brands, and we also operate hotels under management agreements. And as part of that, we are also co-founders of the Leven hotel brand, and Leven comes from the old Dutch and English word for live. So we wanted to create hotel spaces that people could enjoy and and live their own lives on their own terms. And we opened our first hotel in Manchester in the north of England about 2 years ago, and we're actively looking for other sites to grow the Leven brand. And I was heavily involved in the interior design for Leven, so I designed entirely the lobby spaces and some of the bedroom environments as well. So we're very excited that the hotel is very, very successful, and excited to see more Levens in the future. Welcome to our bedroom. As you can see, another room that we're lucky enough to have very beautiful ceilings and rose in the center here. This chandelier we acquired from Turkey. I think it's we don't have, all of our lighting is quite contemporary in the house. This is the only chandelier that we have, so we just felt that it fitted quite nicely here in the bedroom. And then a few pieces of art that we quite enjoy here. These are by Hugo Guinness. We have 3 lithographs from him. These 3 pieces are from John Darien in New York, the wonderful interior store in the East Village. Got the glasses because Nico and I both wear glasses on occasion. You can see we've got a small collection of our glasses here. Also, my mother wears glasses, so we think of her when we see that. We think of Mum. And then this nice crossword. My father always liked crosswords, so this is really in memory of him. And then the 3rd lithograph is this nice Citroen car. Nico loves cars, even though living in London, we don't have a car. I've never learnt to drive living in New York and London, but he enjoys cars, so we think of him with that particular picture. And then just behind as well, we have a nice 1920s piece of art that has various typographical details from that time period. So it's quite nice to see that there. So we have a lot of plants throughout the house, and they're all real. I have to be very strict with my watering schedule, always on Sundays. I give them a little chat as well. As you may know, it's good to say hello to your plants and engage with them. So I'm very charming to the plants. I hope. Give them a little spritz every now and again. So they are quite take some maintenance, but we do enjoy having live plants around, and they really add to a healthy atmosphere as well. So there's just lots and lots of plants throughout the house. Speaking of things in excess, if you ever need a pocket square or a handkerchief, you know where to come. We have quite a selection of handkerchiefs and pocket squares, ordered generally by colour theme. So if you ever need to to pick up a pocket square or a handkerchief, you know where to look. Also quite a few hats as well. I do love hats, so lots of baseball caps, lots of hats, not wearing one today, but we do have the nice hat boxes for storing those from Christie's and from Laird Hatters in London, and also the New York Hatters as well in Brooklyn. This clock rather, it's from Tiffany and was a gift from Imelda Marcos, would you believe, when she used to stay at the Water for Story when I was working at the front desk there when I was about 20 years old. And each Christmas she would give us all gifts. So one Christmas she gave us Tiffany clocks, which was quite generous. So I do enjoy that memory. And then this art is by Charlotte Corrie. She is known for recreating these Victorian playing cards, but instead of having the person's head, they're replaced with animals. So it's quite an unusual piece. This one is called Mr. Wolf. It's the first in a series of 20. So quite an interesting piece for this room. And then we have a couple of chairs here at the base of the bed. That's a great spot for us to enjoy the light coming through the window for a coffee in the morning and to read the paper. So it's a favourite spot of ours. And then the paint colours in here. So we have a very kind of sandy white here, and then we have the baseline of jitney, again Farrow and Ball. And this colour is named after the Hampton Sand, and as you may know, the jitney is the bus that would take people from New York City out to the Hamptons, so hence the name. But I've always really enjoyed this colour. I think it's a very calming colour for a bedroom. And then we have this lovely lady watching over us. Again, I found her in a charity shop in New York City in the East Village. Again, I really love the the beaten up frame here, and you can see she's really had some she's been through it, it seems. So the piece is pretty beaten up, but just has such a huge amount of character. And again, you just wonder who she is and what's going on with her. She's very elegantly dressed here, as you can see, with lovely jewelry. Clearly sitting for her portrait. So I think there's just a lot of interest and charm in this piece. Enjoy her very much. So the bed is a sleigh bed in this beautiful honey wood. It's quite a significant piece of furniture, and we really felt the room was big enough to be able to sustain it. So it's quite a statement piece in terms of a bed, but very comfortable. When I was designing the bedroom, there are a few things that that are key for us. One is serenity and calmness. I think this room is very, very calm and also very inspiring. It's lovely to wake up here and be greeted by such a stunning ceiling and the chandelier, and then opening the shutters. We have working shutters still here, so it's always such a joy to open the shutters in the morning and see the light coming in. So having that sense of serenity in a bedroom is really important, and obviously that informs the the color choices. I think it would be easy, I think, to focus on storage, and most city centre homes are challenged with storage. I would love to have double the amount of storage for more handkerchiefs and hats, but we've got to balance it, and so I've been quite limited in terms of how much storage we have in the bedroom, because otherwise it would overpower the space. So we've kept things quite small, approachable, in keeping with the sizing of the room. So we haven't been generous with storage. I think we've got a nice balance between making the room feel spacious and comfortable, and having enough storage as well. Home to me means joy, whether that's who you spend it with. My husband brings me great joy, and I love that we share a home together. Also joy coming from a place that that recharges you. Home should be somewhere where you can recharge of an evening and then go back out into the world and hopefully be a joyful person outside of your home. And also the joy that you glean from from your environment. And I continue to extract great joy from from the pieces that we have at home, and whether it's the art or or general pieces throughout the home, bring me great joy. And also, lastly, I feel very thankful that we have the opportunity to live in such a beautiful home, and that continues to bring me and us great joy.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.